Hello and welcome to the latest episode of The Talking Tradesman. In the studio with me today, I have Jamie from Abode. It's Abode Spray Training, is it? What's the full title?
Abode Academy, yeah.
Abode Academy. I've got Jamie from Abode Academy. So, Jay, thank you very much for coming in, mate. Let's
No worries,
talk.
man.
Let's talk, man.
No worries.
Pleasure having you sat here, mate. Obviously, I've been down to the academy. I've done your training. We'll talk all about that as the conversation progresses. But thank you for giving up your time and
That's fine, mate.
coming and sitting
No
down
problems.
with
Thanks
me.
for having us, yeah.
No, absolute pleasure. Bit of an elephant in the room. You can probably see there's a couple of bits of kit, which again, as the conversation progresses, we'll explain how Jamie is now selling his own spray machines, which is a massive credit to you, mate, because it's
man, cheers.
It's a huge thing to do. It's a big jump in like your progression and your company's progression, which is ace. But we'll get on to all that. I think we'll keep it relatively chronological. We'll go back to the beginning or as far as is relevant and talk about how you got into what you're into.
Yep.
So let's go then, mate. How did you, how was life in the early days for you? Like, how did this all come about, getting into the decorating industry?
So the decorating side really was something I didn't really want to do right at the start. So it was, I think I was working in a service station at the time, and one of the guys there put me in charge of flipping the eggs. And he came up behind me and said that I was the best egg flipper he'd ever seen. And I just thought at that point then, this can't be the legacy that I live,
Flipping eggs.
Yeah, I thought that can't be it. So I went to the careers office and basically said I wanted to be like, carpenter, electrician, where the money really was. Like, I was like plumber, And then they said, well, all we got is decorating. And I just said, it's got to be better than flipping eggs. And so that's how I started my journey.
Just to like recap on that, is it better than flipping eggs?
Or? It is better than flipping eggs. Well, some days it is, yeah. I tell you, sometimes I question it, but hey. So yeah, I went into that, and I generally I was good at decorating. I mean, I never fully loved it, but I give it all my all. Do you know what I mean?
How did it? So was that a college course?
Yeah, so I went to college, done my time served, done the 2 years. I didn't go for the third because it just felt like it was pointless at that point.
Yeah.
I'm dyslexic anyway, so like that, a lot of it was the decorating worked for me because it was something I didn't have to think about too hard, and it wasn't like a numbers game. It wasn't like an office job. It was something that the reason I wanted to get into the trade, into a trade, is because of that reason. Because I struggled at school like mad, And back when I went to school, even before my time would have been worse, but it was bad. There was no help. There was no, So
did they pick up when you were at school? Did they know you were dyslexic?
Picked up in primary school, and then I went to a secondary school, and that. I got kicked out of that very quickly because obviously my journey was just because I was not the same. They wouldn't treat you any different. That was the problem. Okay. So I got chucked out of that school, went to another school, which is a very, it was designed for a very small amount of students. So we had like 50 in the whole school. This was a lot. You got a lot of help. 50 kids in the whole school. Yeah, it's different now. It was a school called Downlands and Devices back then. It was all boys. I mean, it was a boarding school. I was the only one that actually went home. They called me the day boy. I was called. I was named the day boy. But yeah, I mean, it helped me a lot because it was some of the kids there were bad. Do you know what I mean? Like it was like behaviour bad. But it helped me learn a better structure because it was made for those sort of for kids like me at that time. I think the schools are better now or getting better, but back then it was like unrecognisable.
Do you know what though, mate? Like looking at that, I mean, struggling with dyslexia through school. Anyone that's listened to the podcast for any amount of time will know that I've got major gripes with the education system, so we won't retread that ground. But like, doesn't it just show that it doesn't matter? No. Like, if you look at where you are now with the business that you've now got and everything that you're doing, like it's a great sort of like flag to wave to go, do you know what? Doesn't matter. You can still be fucking successful.
I mean, some of the teachers would stand up right behind you and say, you'll never fucking do anything. Honestly, like it was they were horrible. Really? And now it's almost like at you to say, well, I have done something. Do you know what I mean? So it's, and I think like I say, the education system isn't what I would have rather, because I was really good at woodwork. See, I was good at like science. I was good at those sort of things. But everything else, I mean, I didn't. I mean, I don't. I mean, why do you need to know how many wives Henry VIII had? I don't care.
Oh, right, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
To me, a lot of what they do with the educator, we're going to do it, and we're going to end up walking down that path. But it's just it's memory games. It's not like you said. You don't need to know about Henry VIII. It's not going to help you in life unless you're going to be a historian or archaeologist or something. I mean, it's just that memory recall situation. Give me 2 secs, Jay, because that boiler has just started buzzing. I'm going to turn it off. It's going to do my head in.
Or is it?
Yeah, I don't know why. I think I've turned it on to half power.
Do I look at you or the camera, by the way?
Either way, it's... I'll edit this out. No, take me 2 secs. Yeah, you can either... I tend to just forget the camera's there and look at you unless I'm saying anything profound to... If I'm talking to, I guess, what the hypothetical audience, I'll look at the camera, but other than that, mate, I just look at you. And we're back. Buzzing boiler fixed. I don't know. I turned it on to half power. It's never really... I don't think I've ever put it on that setting before, but buzzing is not the thing. It was going to irritate me. Even if you guys listening couldn't have heard it, I could. It was like having a big bee in the studio. So anyway, sorry, mate. Where were we?
Talk about Henry VIII, I think.
Henry VIII, yeah. and how many wives he had. Yeah. I don't even remember. Henry VIII had... Was it 8 wives?
I don't know.
Was it Henry VIII with 8? I know there was like a rhyme, wasn't there? It was like died, beheaded, divorced, something or other. I can't remember how many wives he had. Yeah. Irrelevant. This is why we don't need to know it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think if they concentrate on the things I was good at, then I would come out of that school a lot better off. But I think as well, with the education system, it is... because when you do leave school and you realise you've got to pay tax, national insurance, and all of those other things, it really, I was like, I remember coming home to my mum and saying, what the hell's this? Where's my money going? She's like, no, this is like, but like, no one teaches you. It's a shock almost. I felt like my parents should have told me, to be fair, but, but yeah, I think with my kids, I think I'd try and bring them up in a way that it's, teach them about business and how business works and how to be business smart, investing. Because I wish somebody had done that to me. I mean, I made my own choices after school, but if you'd made them earlier in life, then you'd be better off where you are now. Do you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. This is it. There's so many what I would call essential skills that just get completely left off the list. But then I guess, like you just said, as a parent, maybe that's our responsibility then to dial in and go, do you know what? That's what I'm doing with my lad. Is trying to pick up and fill the gaps around all the stuff that the education system doesn't. I'm not a fan of any of it, mate. The testing system, the lot, I don't think it's correct.
Well, it hasn't changed. That's the thing. Everything else has changed around it, and that hasn't changed. I think that's the main thing. That's why I always say that's why with our courses that we run, we do not have classroom sit down because it's a very old fashioned way of training. I mean, are you really going to learn how to spray with a pen in your hands? That's the point. A lot of the things we do, like we do cover a theory side, but it's done on your feet. It's done with the gun in your hand. It's talking it over like we did with you and your boy. It was, because as soon as you sit someone, for me personally, if you sat me down, I'd probably fall asleep. In that environment because I just can't deal with it. Some people may be different, but for me, I think most people that are decorators are a decorator for a reason. There's no hands-on. They're more hands-on. They like that. They don't have to think about it too much. They ain't got to write anything down. You're just there working with your hands, aren't you? So I think that's most trades, to be honest. Because if you're an office worker, you're an office worker, aren't you? That's the thing.
Yeah. No, you're right, mate. A lot of people do go into the trades because that's what they resonate with, and I guess it plays into their skill set really. But again, I mean, it's another good thing about your courses that you offer, designed by you, you've got your own way of learning, and now you've developed your spray training around what would work for you, which then translates into what would work for most people. Yeah,
well, what works for me doesn't work for everybody, I suppose. But I mean, I think we're just trying to fill the gaps. Then it's like some people come in, they're like sponge. I mean, like they take everything in and they never ring you again. Like they're fine. Yeah. And you get some people that are like, right, I've just, but they give a lot of information to take away, but they'll ring you a little bit more because they're just unsure or they doubt themselves. So everyone's so bloody different. But it's trying to cater for all those people within the trade. And like I said, it's not just the decorators we train carpenters, all sorts. People that are trying to get into spraying of their own projects.
Yeah. The job I was on yesterday, mate, we were working with a joiner, and he's got his own workshop, but he sprays all his joinery. So yeah, it's a big thing. It's a big thing. But when you got into decorating and you did the college course, was it like an apprentice with a local firm, or?
Yeah, so I work for a company called Mighty Property Services.
Oh, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're everywhere now.
Mighty, yeah.
And I did my apprenticeship with them, and it wasn't great. I'll be honest. We done a lot of council work, and it was to clean all the gutters out, and it was like, I remember December time was like the worst because it would be snowing, and you'd be up a ladder cleaning out gutters of crap and ice, and I got Raynaud's both hands now from that, I can tell you. But then you'd be painting gloss and it was snowing. You know what I mean? It's just madness, absolute madness.
Luckily for me, in my career, I had one period where I'd got we were doing we were doing all the refurbs for Punch Taverns in the West Midlands, and I pulled out the contract after a bit. I won't bore you with the story, but it was a nightmare. And left us for like 6 weeks with no work, so jumped on some subcontracted council work. It's the only time I've done it, but that was the same. I think it was like probably around this time of year. It was like February, March, so it was pretty cold, pretty wet. And as a subby, turning up on these council estates, and it was one of those where if it rained, they'd be like, "That's all right, get a waterproof anorak on, get up the ladder," because part of the contract was cleaning down the PVC, with the grit stuff, you're like polishing it up. I was like, "Sorry, what?" They were like, "Yeah, if it rains, that's the perfect time to go and do all your PVC cleaning." Like, fucking mate, it was horrible.
No, I know, mate. It is horrible. Because you put your hands in warm water and then you put them into the cold again. I remember doing it. It's just like, no. It's so we had some nice work as well as the thing. So we were going for really nice work to that, and it wasn't the best company. So in the end, I went from company to company, and then I just realised I couldn't work for somebody else at that point. Just didn't sit well.
Let's pause this episode there a moment to thank this episode's sponsors, Axis Decor, and take a minute to talk about the Silk Touch Ultra range. This range of brushes and rollers have hydrophobic filaments that maintain firmness in all paints, spreading them further. They resist paint build-up for easy maintenance, and they remain fine at the tip for exact filament to surface, placement and finer strokes. Further to that, they've got texturised tips delivering streak-free results. They hold paint back for even, controlled release. And thanks to their elastic tech, they bend to control as you like, and they have unrivaled shape retention. Built with a slip-resistant etched handle and corrosion-resistant stainless ferrule, these brushes are fantastic. As you can see, there's a range of these in front of me now. Big thank you to Access Decor for supporting the podcast and helping us raise mental health awareness. Let's get back to the episode.
So I started originally another company called Fresh Look Contractors years. I started right at the start of the recession in 2007, and it just went. It was like loads of work, and then all of a sudden it just died.
Really?
And I ended up actually working on the motorway, the crash barrier, for around 2 years because it was just there was no paint work because I had to
installing crash barriers.
Yeah, did it for 2 years. And that was hard graft, mate. That job was like putting wet boots on in the morning. You were drenched. I mean, like you were right on the side of the road. You're doing nights. It was got in the face of a sledgehammer, broke my jaw, and my eye socket. Yeah.
I want to hear this story, mate, because that sounds. Yeah. Was that accidental?
My mate's probably going to watch this, and it was him that hit me. But it was an accident. You can see I got a bit.
I'm mildly disappointed now.
Yeah, no. It wasn't attacked by a bloke in a car, but no, it was got a dent here on my face. So when we used to take the posts out of the nuts at the post, and sometimes the post would shift over like that. And it meant that someone had got a digger and pulled the post over and then put a bolt in. So you used to do a thing called retensioning. So you used to take the old bolts out and put new ones in. So I took one out and it went dong, like the post came over. So my mate was in it with a sledgehammer to try and get it back over. I checked to go and see if it had got in. He missed the post and cracked me straight in the eye socket. Put me to sleep for a while.
Shit.
Yeah. So I ended up. But my boss at the time, he was just, mate.
What did you say he did? Fractured your eye
socket? So I broke my jaw and fractured my eye socket. So, and all blood internally. It was more internally. Yeah, so a big bruise, but it was more internal.
Yeah.
But the bloke I worked with at the time, we used to call him Greedy Greeny because his name, John Green, his name was. He's a workaholic, I'd say.
Yeah.
So he'd be like, "Are you all right, mate? Just going to go look at another job." I was like, "I think I need to go to the hospital, mate, because my fucking face is caved in." Like, but so we were driving around looking at jobs, but all I could see was to the right with this eye because I thought I lost my eyesight at one point. So when I'm having a bad day, I always think about that.
Could be worse. Jesus Christ, mate.
But so that was to be fair, it was a good laugh. You know, we would have because my mates all still work on there, and you know, I had to pay the bills somehow, and I did what I had to do at the time. And then when I come out the back of that, then I started Abode decorating. That's how it all began. That was probably about 15 years ago now. So I started Abode.
So I'm assuming 15 years ago when you started Abode, you'd have been traditional decorator, brush and roll.
Right at the start, I think, so I'd probably got a couple of years in and then took up the spraying. I think it probably started that probably 12, 13 years ago, the spraying started.
So what happened for you there? Like, because I'm 25 years in and I'm just really, I mean, I've done the XVLP spraying for years now, but just getting into the Airless, obviously, through yourself. Fantastic courses over at Abode, by the way. But yeah, so I'm just getting into it. But like, what made you jump it? What was the trigger point for you?
So I was working for a mate, and we were glossing some windows in the workshop, and at the time it was like it was just traditional oil-based glass, oil-based undercoat, and all putty, and I just went in and brushed them. So they made them, and I brushed them in there. So they put on little stands. I brushed them, and he said, "Oh, Jamie, that's like the best work we've ever seen come out of it." And I was like, "Oh, sound, yeah." He said, "We got another job where it's just 50 windows and 10 doors, but the bloke wants some spray." He's like, "Can you spray?" I was like, "Yeah." I've never touched a spray gun in my life, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, be right." And luckily, the paint I was using for this job, it was a product called Technos 2600. I'll never forget it. And this stuff, you cannot make it run if you try. Like, you can absolutely lever it on. It's the flipsotropin properties in it. It's like jelly. But yeah, I was spraying this job, and it was like an immediate realization of like, man, this is quick. Like, I couldn't believe how quick it was going on, and the finish was just immaculate. And don't get me wrong, I'd probably go back and look at that job now and put my hand like that, look at it because I didn't know what I was doing. And then one of the reps from Technos had come in and said, "Jamie, why the hell have you not got electric airless?" And I was like, "What the fuck's that?" Honestly, that's how, like, because I never, when I was a decorator, I was just a decorator. I didn't look into it. I wasn't on Instagram. Didn't care about Facebook. Didn't go on YouTube, watch videos. I just went to work and come home. I didn't, I had no idea that there was, I used Purdy's and Hamilton's. So I didn't know there was a brush. I didn't know anything.
Mate, I was the same for, trying to think. It's probably only about 9 years ago that I got on social media.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same, mate. But in a few ways, don't you think that ignorance was bliss? Like, before, it's like having, it's like the red pill situation, isn't it?
Yeah.
You take that red pill and now it's like,
shit.
Like, there's all this stuff to keep up with.
Yeah.
There's a little bit, I look back and I'm like, do you know what? My life was so much like more peaceful, and I had so fewer inputs coming in when I wasn't aware of all that. I mean, I can't go back now, but there's a part of me that's like, do you know what, living that existence of,
Well, it's less stressful, that's for sure. I think I think when you start looking into it more, this is what I did with the spraying. So I remember going home that evening and watching. It was Chris Berry at the time, because he was like massive. I mean, he still is now, but I mean, it was just all him on YouTube.
Is that the American chap?
Yeah. So the Idaho painter, and I just sit there and watch it. I mean, I miss him, like, "You bloody coming to bed," because it'd be 2 a.m. I went down the rabbit hole, mate, and that was it. I become addicted to it almost. And I wanted to know everything about it, which I think I do. Not everything, but I've studied it hard, and I know. But when I watch these videos, they make it look so easy, but in reality, when you go on the job and do it, I can remember spraying it at school once in this woman's house, and when I looked at it just before I left, I was like, "Mate, I'm the daddy at this." Do you know what I mean? Went out at lunch, come back, and it was all over the floor. So I made so many mistakes, mate. And the thing is, like, this is what I say to the guys: the mistakes I made, I fixed. It's only paint. That's what I always tell people: it's only paint. Like, yes, it may be shit sometimes, and you get runs, and things go wrong. But it is just paint. That's the thing. It's always just paint. Don't be defeated by the paint. So that's why we try and tell people, like, yes, it is a different way, but don't be fooled. This isn't decorating anymore. It's a complete different game.
Yeah, mate, I was going to say that. The way I see it is you've got decorators and you've got sprayers, and then you've got some decorators that spray. And then you know what I mean? There's like, to me, there's 3 categories there.
Yeah.
You've got decorators that are traditional. You've got decorators who spray, which was probably the category that I'm sat in right now. And then you've got sprayers that just spray.
Yeah.
And it is, I mean, the skill and the finish is exceptional. It definitely does have, it's just a whole different trade almost, isn't it?
It is. Like I said, like some people just never get into spraying, and they have this people have this mindset. It's like, oh yeah, I could brush a roll out quicker than you can spray it. And I'm like, that's not really the point. Sometimes it's the finish you go after. So I always say, forget the speed, go after the finish. If you go after the finish, then you'll get better work. Yes, it is faster, and yes, sometimes it is slower. That's the thing. Like if you sprayed this room you're in now, the amount of walls that are actually in here, you probably brush them quicker.
Well, I tell you what, I would do quicker with this boy. That, mate, because
that ceiling, yeah,
I did that whole ceiling with an XVLP sprayer. So
things like that make a difference because it's a bigger space. But when you look at what you've got here in wall space, then so this is what I'm saying. Like, in some jobs, we say to people, don't get caught up on, well, I can't spray everything, so I'm not going to spray anything. So you could just spray the ceiling in this. That's the thing. It's always something you can spray, or something. There's never anything you can spray. It's a situation that you put yourself in. You look around and go, well, there's 10 windows, there's 2 doors there, there's loads of skirting board. I'm going to spray just the woodwork. I mean, and because there's more woodwork than there is walls and ceiling space. That's the thing. You just got to weigh up. Like you said a minute ago, you're always waiting for that perfect job, and it doesn't exist. Sometimes, like if you get, ideally, yes, empty plot, nothing in it, easy, get yourself around it easily, no tangling up with furniture. That would be a great job to spray. Yes,
for me, mate, it's the time. And just to explain, so pre-record. So I've done Jamie's 2-day Airless course with me and my lad Alfie, which sing the praises, mate. Fully recommend it. It was a great course. Jamie was great. The information was great. Loads and loads of hands-on time with the unit. I've come away with the A6 Airless sprayer, and as you can see, it's looking very, very clean and shiny and unused as yet, mainly because we did the training just before Christmas. But what I said to Jamie when he got here was, look, I've been waiting to be able to get the right job to use it. But for me, what I'm referring to is not necessarily the job to use it in terms of whether to spray it or not. It's more just having that, probably just a day where I'm like, okay, I've got no pressure. There's no time pressure on this job. So I can take my time to go through it. Because the way I do things, I'm quite methodical.
Yeah.
I don't like to be rushed into anything new. So if I'm doing anything new, I want to have probably a day to just...
You're in your safe space.
Exactly that. Yeah. So I've been under pressure from literally the first day back. I've had job run over after job run over because of customers adding loads of work on. And I've just not been in a position where in my mind I've been able to go, do you know what, actually today I'm going to set the sprayer up. And also there's a little bit of me as well, because I'm working in houses where the customers have been in. If I'm honest, there's still part of me as well that goes, I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I don't want the customer coming in and I'm there going, oh, does this go to this bit? And like, you know what I mean? Playing around with it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there.
It'll come. It'll come.
Yeah, I mean, all I'd say is, like, we tell the guys that we train, it's like, you almost, when you get into this, you almost give yourself a couple of weeks off, not to make a plan, look at what you can be, look what jobs you can spray, have a practice with the machine somewhere at home, get your bearings with it all.
Yeah, that's what I need to do,
and make a business plan as well with it, because it's like guys that come in and do like UPVC spraying, that are decorators. I'm like, unless you give yourself 2 weeks off work, you're never ever going to push that job. Like, because if you're trying to transition or even integrate both, you need to give that time. I say it to every single person, because some people do the courses and I'd not get stuck in a rut, but yes, get stuck in a rut. So it's like, if your rut's good, then stay in it. But if the reason you're doing the other courses is because obviously you don't want to do that. So, if you go back to work like you've done, and then you get busier and busier, it just ends up, there's no gaps. You can't think about it because you know what it's like when you finish work. The last thing you're thinking about is like, well, right, going to make a business plan. Like you're knackered, it's done. You've had your day's done. Then you've got all this going on top of it.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to give yourself a little bit of headspace because, like I say, I come my best ideas either on holiday or on the toilet. To be fair.
Yeah, I can see why though.
I'm just sort of switched off for a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And on a holiday, I'm like, I'm going to get back and do that, which drives my missus mad, but that's the times that my head's the clearest to make the plan to what steps I make next in the company. Yeah, so you have to give yourself a break,
Definitely, mate. I mean, I said to you when we came to the academy to train, my future plan, I think, because I've been building this as much as I've been building this, it's took a lot of my time and attention. And if anything, my business planning has kind of been here rather than in my business.
Yeah.
The future for me is to get Alfie up and running with the sprayer, and that will then be his transition as and when he takes over the business. That's my apprentice, my son, my next generation. For him to sort of really drive into that. And not that I'm coming to the end of my decorating career, because I'm far from it, but I see myself probably in my last 10 years.
Yeah.
So my vision is, and that's what I said to you before, I want to get my lad trained up in all the things I don't do.
Yeah.
Spraying being one of them with the Airless and that, because I think he can then take that and run.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a case of getting him firing. But you're right, mate. I need to probably book a week off in my diary. My own home needs decorating, you know what I mean? We could set it up and have a go there. Plan.
Yeah, wreck your own house before you wreck someone else's.
That's it. But, it's that thing of, I guess there's a bit of ego involved, really, because I don't want to sit in a customer's house and not look like I know what I'm doing. Yeah. To an extent.
I do get it. But, again, it's this is your own fault. Coming into your own head.
100%, mate.
And like I said, like we get some guys that are like, oh, just wait for that perfect job. I was like, it's not real. It's not reality. And like I said to you before we started this podcast, it's like me doing the jobs now that I would never spray led me to the jobs that I actually want to spray. Do you know what I mean? So people, I got more recognition. Like things that I wouldn't spray now at all, I did back then because I was desperate to get the gun out. But people started recognizing the work, recognizing the finish. And then we ended up in like really nice jobs. I mean, I haven't done the job now for 2 years because obviously we've got solely the academy and the machines now. But it got me to jobs that I used to watch. I used to watch it online. That there's people doing this really nice work. I was like, wow, how the hell are they getting those sort of jobs? And most of the time, it can be someone that knows someone else. Potluck, that you're in the right place at the right time. But some people have to graft for it, and that was me. I had to really work hard to get those sort of jobs that I really wanted.
So pulling it back, mate, because we've drifted off onto why I haven't used a sprayer yet. Pulling it back to you. So you've gone through your stage of setting your business up in recession, just after recession.
Yeah. So the recession, the first business was 2007. I think that's when I would have started Fresh Look Contractors, it was called. I mean, God knows why I picked that name, but and I went bust like very quickly because honestly, the recession just took over the country and it just left all the trades and like unless you had massive contracts and you were safe in them, which wasn't me. I just started a business, so it was going to suffer straight away. And then obviously done that the motorway, broke my eye socket. Then went on 2 years later to start Abode.
Okay, so around about 2009-ish.
I think it's 2009, 2010. It would have been. I started Abode decorating. I always said when I remember working on the motorway and being in the van, I said I put an ad out and there's like a local Denton's where you have like a little booklet. I said the first job that comes in, I'll go. Yeah, and I had a phone call in the van. I looked at my boss and he went, "You're going, aren't you?" I said, "I am." How's the end of that? Really? So that's how it all started. And obviously Abode, the name, just. I mean, my mum came up with the name Abode because I said I want to be something up high in the Dentons, in the directory. And she just said, "What about Abode?" And I said, "What's Abode?" She said, "Oh, your humble abode, your home, so like home decorating." Okay. And that's how it began. And then obviously the Abode name has just gone absolutely everywhere to the sprayers, to the shop, to the paints, to everything that we offer now, the academy. And it's sort of stuck.
Well, we'll talk about how you've got there, mate, because it's like it's such a leap. to go from setting up your business to where you are now is massive. So I want to like connect the dots along the way, but also obviously with the background of this podcast being around mental health and your own journey. I mean, mental health can play both ways, like the good and the bad, but I know you've had your own trials and tribulations, so we'll tie that in as we go along. But yeah, so let's talk about once you had set your business up. I mean, were you traditional at that stage?
Yes, I would say I was traditional completely at that stage. And it was probably only a few months into it, really, that I say year in, that I started looking at the spraying and, didn't look at it, just sort of happened to come to me. Like I said, with that joinery shop. And then as that progressed with the guy from Technol saying, do you not own an Airless? Can't believe you don't own an Airless. That sort of then led me down a rabbit hole to the Airless stuff. And then I just kept progressing along the way.
When you got into it, what training was available then? Because
we had some training. We went on like various things, but it's not like it is now. There is better courses out there now. So I had like brief training on Airless, I think it was, and it was okay, but it was more like what it is now. I think back then, because it was just starting out, like really in the UK. I think we're probably one of the first people out of a few handfuls that actually started getting into Airless back then. There was a few older guys with the older, like the generators spray stuff, but the Airless took 15 years ago. It was like non-existent really in the UK. It's still so small. We're talking like 500,000 decorators, like 10,000 spray guns around. It's like it's not.
Yeah.
I think America is 95% of decorated spray. In the UK, it's 7%.
Really?
Yeah.
Australia's big on spraying as well.
No, they're not.
I always thought there was.
No, so that again, we got a couple of guys. The spray gun club. Shout out to the spray gun club. So they're our Australian good friends of ours. But they do similar to what we're doing with the machines. They've got their own brand, and they said that it's just starting over there. There's a few guys that are doing it, but not in it's more like the outside guys doing the bigger outside. It's not like the internals like we do. So it's just beginning out there. So they bring out the machines. They're starting the training.
I mean, I don't know if you even know the answer to the question, mate. But why is it such a difference between why is it 95% in America spray and only 7% in the UK? Like
weather. It's got to be, because you think about it, you've got how every house in America is made out of sort of, it's not wood, is it? It's almost like
timber framed,
it's like timber, and like they use like these boards, so it's almost like MDF. It's like cheap crap. Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. But the whole house is built out of wood, so to brush and roll that compared to spray, I think that's why the guys they're on the guns all the time, and generally the houses are much bigger, in America. So there's way more room. The ceilings are much higher than ours. The woodwork's a lot more dense. So, and in some countries like Idaho, like it's a standard. You have to have the woodwork sprayed. It's a standard.
Oh, really?
In Idaho, so like a lot of it is. The UK is just miles behind on anything, right? So, go to Scandinavia's countries and like in America, they're always miles ahead. They're miles ahead of us on paint products. That's why a lot of the paints that we use. Coming from the States or they're coming from Scandinavian countries that are better. They're not, because we're so miles behind on technology and external water-based products especially. So I think this is why they're leaps ahead, and then we're just tickling into it now, really.
There's a bit of, I don't know what it is, mate. I think within the UK, with it being a decorators industry, there's a lot of old school decorators in the UK, and the young blood isn't coming in anywhere near as much as the people going out. And a lot of people are very stuck in their ways. I mean, you saw, forgetting spraying, like the massive pushback to get people off oil and onto water was, and there's still people out there now that will still swear blind that water-based paints are terrible, and that oil-based is the only thing that exists. So then to try and convince people to go for a totally different application method in a job as well, where I think it would be safe to say that old school view of decorators is that anyone could become a decorator. A few rollers, a couple of buckets, and a few paint brushes, and you're away. Now you're bringing in equipment that is thousands. You know, your
Yeah.
sprayers are thousands, your dustless sanding systems are thousands. It's getting not in line with carpentry, but we're approaching, you know, in terms of setup costs, if you want to be high end,
Yeah.
you are outlaying like tens of thousands on equipment. And I think that, again, is another barrier to entry for people to switch up.
Yeah. I also think as well that it's the reason the trade's going down is because there's been less and less money in it, really. And there's, like you said, people are just picking up a brush and roll and doing it themselves. The trade's dying, I'd say dying. So I think that the spraying is almost going to pick that back up again, because I think it is. Because like, if you ask most young lads, it's like, do you want to brush and roll, or do you want to get on that gun, mate? They'd be like, oh, mate, let's get on the machine. You know what I mean? It's going to be class.
Well, it looks cool.
Well, it's more fun. It is, and there's less stress on your body. Like, it's fun. It is fun. I mean, I've been doing it so long now. Even when I get a gun, man, I'm like, I still enjoy it. Still quite look forward to doing it. I think that's going to bring the generation through. It's like your boy would have enjoyed that probably more.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, loved it.
And now he's going to want to push the spray more, because it's just a more enjoyable way of putting the paint down. Like rolling a ceiling all day. You know what I mean? You know how bad that is. So, to get a gun out and spray it and just look back at the finish, and also how less knackered you are from doing that, of course it's more enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's like, I got an e-bike, right? I'm lazy as hell. I don't want to ride up a hill, right? I want to help. Do you know what I mean? To get up there so I can enjoy more coming down the other side.
So if you say, let's go on a bike ride, what you mean is let's just cruise around on an electric vehicle.
Mate, honestly, mate, you get to the top of these places like in Forest of Dean, right? And you're so fat, right? You don't enjoy the down bit, right? So now I'm like, right, I'm coming here. I want to enjoy it, yeah?
So you just want to go down?
I work hard enough. Yeah, I just want to go down, mate. But it's funny because there was a guy who's getting like you get a lift up on your bike, and this bloke was like, "You lazy bastard." I was like, mate, at least I'm actually pedaling. My bike's helping. You're in the back of a trailer. You know what I mean? But mate, I like the enjoyable part. I don't like the hard bit. I like the enjoyable part.
Why not, man? Why not? Yeah, crack me up though. Yeah. Your bike just for downhills.
Yeah. I'm in it for the fun, mate. I work harder for the week, not allowed to put the weekend in. Do you know what I mean? So I'm all about all the fun bit.
So when you transitioned into spraying and you found your vibe for that, what was that doing? Was that like rooms or kitchens or?
Yeah, started off at Airless side, so it was like walls, ceilings. Oh, mate, I mean the jobs I sprayed, it was just ridiculous, really, because it was just I sprayed everything at the start. That's what, and I learned very quickly that I actually give it up for 6 months because I thought this is absolutely pointless because I'm losing money. And then there's a massive factory that came up, and I sprayed that, and I just thought, hang on a minute. You know what I mean? And I started integrating it back into the business in parts and bring it back out again, and then back to brush and roller. And it worked out better. But that's the main thing. If anyone's listening to this and they want to get into spraying, or they are spraying, don't spray everything. Because some of the guys we teach, we have the same conversation with them, and then you see them tape up a very small bathroom ceiling. And I'm like, mate, I could have rolled that 6 times.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? There's no windows in there. You're not even going to tell the difference between a roller finish or a spray finish. And I think that's where I went wrong. But that was initially my work was domestic, hauses and landings, which I love spraying, to be fair, because I sprayed the spindles with the HRLP. I loved it. And stuff like that, really. I just got into the domestic side. Then it went into more like high-end hotel rooms, like conference rooms, and then bigger projects, manors. And then we used to, because we had the contract for the NHS, we used to do a lot of the oil tanks. And it's great because they're like 500 quid each, right? These big oil tanks. Sand them down, smooth some gravel back, do you know what I mean, from the bottom. So I think we taped them a little box. And they're 500 quid each. We used to do 7 or 8 of them a day. You know what I mean? Just flying through them. The sun was beaming, so the paint was drying like as soon as it hit the bloody thing, it was drying. And like you used to get those little chestnuts sometimes, and I just think, imagine brushing and rolling them. You know what I mean?
Mate, there's a few jobs now. I look back after getting that, and I look back and I think, Christ, if I'd had the sprayer.
You always look back.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, particularly in the commercial market, I think there's definitely some really good margins to make.
Mate, it's great. And the thing is, you got to take the rough and the smooth sometimes, because you get a job like that, and you do like, you could do. I'm going to do a 10 grand a week, and it's like, wow, that was good. And then you get some that you don't do so well, but then you think, well, normally I wouldn't have earned that. So you start and then you'll aim for it. Then you'll start aiming right. So that made me that. So that's what I need to push more stuff like that. Then you find your little niche. Then I think the problem is with decorators. I mean, I was saying myself is because I'd done the job for so long, 25 years served. In my head, I was like, that is my bread and butter. I kept calling it my bread and butter. Like, my bread and butter. I've got to go back to my bread and butter. And I think in the end, you start going, well, there's a better way of making money in less time. So why am I so focused on that? And that's why we went into the plastics, the kitchens, all of the other stuff. I didn't get rid of decorating, but what I did is I moved it to the side, and then I kept doing other things like like kitchens paid well, very well. UPVC paid very well. So I concentrated on pushing them because I'd already grown a massive customer base for decorating. So I didn't need to push that anymore. That was already there. So what I did is I went back to decorating when it paid better. But when you're just doing decorating, it's hard when you're quoting, it's like, Russ, you're quoting a job. You know that other people are quoting the job. You know the decorators are going to be generally cheaper. And if you want to earn serious money, you've got to go somewhere else. But the problem is, if you're just stuck in that, your quoting structure is so tight to compete with the other guys. But if you start adding more strings to the bow, then you can always go, well, if I don't get that, I'll go back and do that. Doesn't matter. So that's what we started doing, because my missus said to me at the time, this is going back probably 10 years ago, and she said, why are you doing why are you decorating? Because your wages are doing this. Then you go back to decorating, then you go back to the new PVC, then you go back, then you go to kitchens. And I think in my head, I was like, yeah, why am I doing that? Do you know what I mean? So what we did is we put it on the back burner, and when a decent job come in that I actually wanted to do, I would go back to decorating again. So say that someone said to me, can you paint this massive conference room in a hotel? And it'd be like, right, you're looking at about 20 grand's worth of work here. You go, sound. Then you go back. But the whole says of landing jobs was just don't pay their bills. That's the problem. When you weigh it all up, you go, the way the country's gone and the amount of money you've got to spend, if you're on £200 a day, mate, you're just surviving.
Yeah,
that's
100%,
the point.
Yeah.
And we had this conversation with a guy, actually. He's still on £200 a day, and I found someone a week, and I said, well, let's relay all that, shall we? And we've written everything down.
Yeah.
This is how we teach the guys to price. It's like, price your square meterage based on how much you need to earn, not actually on someone else's wages, how much you need to earn. And it worked out in the end. He had about 20 quid left to himself a day. And I was like, that's you're living on.
I've said this so many times. The problem is people get this fixation on day rate.
Yeah.
And this whole, I'm on £200 a day. Well, do you know what? If you're making £200 a day profit outside of your business costs, then you probably are doing some decent money. Yeah. Because anyone that's got £1,000 expendable every week, great. But what's your business costing you? And people don't. It's bizarre. I find it really strange that people can't link the two, because that fascinated on £200 a day, £250 a day, £150 a day, but they don't take out anything. So it's like, but what's the running cost of your business? What's your van costing? What's your insurance costing? What's all these things? And then you add it up, and then you go, well, actually, that £200 a day, like you just said, is maybe only £40-50 profit by the time you've paid everything. And then it's like, well, I can't charge. Why?
It's that's why people struggle. I mean, it's so snobby me saying this, but I'm not. Is that I was sat at a barbecue a few years back, and my mates were just talking behind me. I hope he's not watching this, to be fair. But he was talking about going on holiday, and it was, if we don't go this year, we can go next year. And I just thought to myself, and I don't go wrong, I've been in that situation, but like, I just thought to myself, if you can't go on holiday once a year, what's the fucking point? Do you know what I mean? What is the fucking point of working that hard and then going, we'll save up and we'll go next year? You know what I mean? It's like, I want to go on holiday when I want. I want to buy what I want. I want to buy a coffee in the morning and not worry about buying a coffee in the morning. Yeah, I want to live because I'm working to survive. I'm not going to just live on the edge. But I have been there. Do you know what I mean? I have. I mean, I go from absolutely broke. I remember putting, I think it was right in the recession. I remember putting a £5 of fuel in my van. I went over by a penny. I just burst into tears at the petrol station because I just had nothing, absolutely zero. Lost everything. Had nothing. So I have been in those situations, and that just think back and not getting into that again. But like it's, I can see why people struggle because they never work their bills out. That's the problem. If you sat down and actually worked out, it's scary sometimes. That's what I said when you said about day rate. Day rate is is dead. You can't give someone a day rate anymore because you'll never make any money. If you do a day rate, you'll earn the same money for the rest of your life. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So everything else goes up in price around you, apart from you. That is the problem. So what happens is you just get stuck, and then everything keeps increasing, and then you'll just be left with nothing.
I imagine it probably translates even more with spraying, though, because if you were to say to somebody, do you know what, my day rate, because that's how much I need to make my business tick over, it's £400 a day.
Yeah.
They'd look at you and be like, whoa, no chance. But if you turn around to them and say that job is £1,000
Yeah.
and it's going to take you 2.5 days to do, they'd be like, oh, okay, fair dues.
I'm glad you said that, actually, because that's something that we do cover on the course, right? So we call it like mindset, client mindset. So when it's really funny because like if you go to a UPVC on our academy, we've got the fascia, haven't you? Give them a little bit each. They've got a little bit of fascia to say 6 foot. You've got a window and a door to spray there. That's our section each. And we say to the guys, right, so we're going to walk in one of the little airless rooms, right? So we're going to say, right, I'm going to 800 quid for that room. Okay, mate, that's ridiculous, man. No one's ever going to pay that. And then we go back out and say, right, so that bit of fascia there, the window and the door, going to cut about 750. They go, it's pretty reasonable. I go, isn't that funny? Because that takes 3 hours. That takes 3 days.
Yeah.
And this is, and the client also sees this.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the problem. This is the exact thing I'm talking about. Is because in value wise, the door and the fascia and the door, the fascia and the window is worth more than that room. Yeah. In value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
So, but again, to have that replaced would cost shitloads. To have that room painted, you can find anyone to do it. That's the point.
It's the same as kitchens, though, Jamie, isn't it?
Yeah.
You get the same principles. We do. I've sprayed kitchens. I've hand painted kitchens, and it's the same thing. It's like if their renewal cost. I had a job a couple of years ago. The renewal cost to replace the kitchen was like 45 grand. The cost to refinish it, or resprayed it, had to do a lot of restoration work on it because I'd had a really badly hand painted job. I stripped it all out, sanded it, and resprayed it for them. Came up mint. But I think I charged maybe about 5.5, which took me to about 10. I don't know, maybe eight days work. So it was good money.
Yeah.
And the customer was over the moon because
Yeah.
to them it hadn't cost them 5.5; it had saved them 40 grand.
Exactly. And the two most expensive things to replace in the house really is the kitchen and the UPVC windows.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. So it's that's why you've got to look at it and go, yes, you're making a killing, but the customer's also saving a killing. That's the point. So, like you said, like we did a similar thing. We done a job for a bloke, and he was quoted 75 grand to replace his kitchen, and we did it for 7. It was beautiful. Like, it is a hand built pine kitchen. Like it was stunning. And I said to the guy, like, you could never buy this again if you tried. This is what I try and get through to education on the client, right? So, saying you're ripping out an oak door, right, or a pine door, hand built, and replace it with a piece of shit that's been sprayed by somebody in the factory. Right? Let's be honest. So what you got there is better than anything you're going to buy today. So why don't we respray it, and then it also save you those 60 grand or whatever on a new kitchen.
True, mate. It's worth mentioning because there's a lot of particularly old wood. The job we're on right now, we stripped, I told you about the staircase we stripped off, but that's made of, the carpenter did say there's a word for it. It's a particular type of pine, but it's really old. So the grain is like really tightly packed. A little bit like tiger grained oak, but like tiger grained. He said, I can't remember what it was, but the chip he said, he was like, oh, that's such and such a pine. He went, it's dead expensive. You can't get it anymore. Because it's all that old wood has now been used up.
Well, it's fast grown now, that's the thing.
Yeah, so that's why you've got the big wide grain in wood. The same as tiger grained oak, you can't get it anymore because the reason it's so tightly packed is the age of the wood. Yeah. And you're not, there's nowhere out there now that's selling like 700-year-old oak because, well, it's going to take a while to grow, isn't it? But it's a really good, valuable point, to be fair. And like you just touched on, actually being able to educate your customer.
Yeah.
Having that trust where you can say, do you know what, Mrs. Smith, actually, that's really good. Why don't you keep it? And this is what we can do with it.
Yeah, this is why I have a conversation with guys. They're like, I want to spray furniture. I want to spray, buy old furniture and spray it. Yeah, don't bother. No one buys it because they're going on to the next and buy a cheap piece of crap. And that is the way people have their mindset is set. But what you've done there is better than anything they can ever buy. This is the thing, but no one to pay for it, right? So you have to go into something that they cannot buy cheaper. That is the point. Furniture, if you go like, I'll spray it, make it look lovely, I'll put lacquer on top there, I'll put a nice walnut top on it for you. They'd be like, don't care how much you can charge for that. Oh, yeah, £1,000. They go, I got a gear, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is the point. So don't bother doing furniture, unless someone's specifically having bespoke. The only way you'll make money out of furniture, respraying, is if the client is emotionally connected to it.
Yeah.
So that was my mum's table, and she died, and then it passed on, and then. But you've got to be fair with it. I remember doing a talk.
Kicking off.
Did I cut out?
Huh?
Did that actually cut out?
It might, the only thing it might not get is a siren like that, to be fair. Or I can cut it out for anyone listening. We just had like ambulance, fire, whatever it is, go past.
Yeah. So so basically we did a table and chairs for a woman. It was like $2,500. It's like 4 chairs at the table, and everyone's like, "That's ridiculous."
Yeah.
Like, you're right, it is, but it's ridiculously amount of work as well.
Yeah.
She wanted it stripped and the top brought back in an oak.
Yeah.
And like all like oiled and then lacquered.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work, mate. All the chairs had the separate spindles and everything. It's a lot of work. And to be honest, I actually lost money on that job. So, because the amount of time it took me, because then you have to weigh out the workshop costs, everything else around it. This is what people don't see.
Cost of running a business.
Oh, yeah, the cost of running a business. Yeah, which we'll touch on in a minute because it drove me around the bend.
Well, yeah, let's do exactly that, Jay.
Yeah.
Let's do exactly that. I mean, I know I've had this conversation with you. I had a chat with you when we were down training about some of the pressures of running a business. We're missing a massive chunk, actually, because you've gone from... You've gone into your business, you've set your business up, you've gone into spraying, you've obviously seen the light and lent into spraying and lent away from traditional. Like, where was the jump from that to like workshop? When did that come about?
I think what it was is that I seen the gap in the market for spraying the kitchens. I done a few hand painted kitchens, and I was already spraying at that point as well. But I didn't. I mean, there's some people will spray kitchens in the house. I'm against it. I would say each to their own. But like for me, it's like if you want to do it properly, you need your own space. A proper spray booth. Give the customer the best experience because you're not turning their whole house into a spray booth, right? So the problem is doing it in the house is that the heart of the house is the kitchen, right? So if you're taking that away from somebody, it's very hard to live. If you're painting a bedroom, we'll put stuff in there. We can still sleep and blah, blah. But when you take over the kitchen, and then sometimes if the kitchen's not big enough to do the spraying in there, you've got to take over another room, right? So then you got like the kitchen and the dining room then. So then you're completely leaving them screwed. So I think to give the customer a better experience for your workshop. So the workshop for me was always a must. I never sprayed it in the house. If you're brushing them, they don't take up as much.
No, because you can leave. Do you? So just a question on that one, mate. So you still spray the casement, like the stuff that don't.
Yes, but you're there for very. Obviously we've got tricks to make that much quicker, which we cover on the course. So
I don't know if you know, but Jamie does spray courses.
Yeah. So basically, in the house, when you go in the day one, you take the doors away, and they go right. See you in 5 days or 6 days. I will be back with your doors, but in this whole time, you can still use your kitchen, right? Because you just left them with no doors. Yeah. And then when you come back, we generally come back on because the kitchen for me, I used to charge very good money for them, and then some people do it in a week, some people do it in 2 weeks. My time was about 8 days, on my own, and I charged enough money to cover me for good money for 8 days. But I do 1 week of doing the doors, making sure they were all like absolutely as best as I could get them. Right, that was another thing I was going to say. But never perfect, best you can get them. What I do is take the doors away, spray them in the workshop, go back to site, and then I would only be there. So I'd start on a Monday. The Friday was a bit of a floating day, so I'd spray my last coats on, get the van loaded up, and that would take me to about 12 o'clock generally on that last day of the Friday. But I was never going to go to the client's house on half a day and start taping up the kitchen. And leave them for the weekend, and then back Monday again. So I planned it well, right? So what I did was go back on the Monday, and then I would tape the carcasses, and then I'd leave that night and leave the cooker exposed, and then I'd say right because I get everything sanded, everything ready. Next day I come in and put my coats, paints on, and on the third day I come back and put the doors on. So they only didn't have a kitchen for 1 day. in all of that, because I would leave things exposed. They could still use it at night, covered in tape everywhere. You know what I mean? But they can still get to the cooker. They can still get to the fridge. Right. So next day, I cover the cooker, cover the fridge, spray my 3 coats on, take all the tape off, and then go back on the Wednesday, put all the doors back on. So generally, that's how I used to do my jobs. Sometimes they go a little bit quicker. But again, it depended. Like if you got a small kitchen, you have to find that kitchen amongst other work, because no matter what you do, you take 4 days, right? So small kitchen, take it apart, degreasing it, taking it back to the workshop, then go back to the site. You've lost 4 days straight away, even if it's like 5 or 6 doors and some drawers. I mean, you're just going to lose that time. So what we used to say, so if you wait, I used to pick 2 kitchens up the same day.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the smaller one and the bigger one. That's why those 8 days worked out well for me, because I'd have 2 primed, 2 top coated, back on one, back on the other. If you pick one up, it'll take you longer, right? But like if you start integrating the little bits in with the kitchen, that's how I used to do it. And I never rushed them. That was the thing. You either want it done properly, or I wouldn't do it. That was it. I never went into those jobs. Like I'd rather lose work and not rush, because I liked having that time to look over it properly, which did drive me mad in the end. So yeah, it was that transition from me doing it to the workshop was based on me just basically seeing the market, seeing the money, making the business plan, and then just going for it. I mean, renting my first workshop cost £220 a month, and I shit myself. I'm not gonna lie. I was pacing like up and down the living room that night, like, oh my god, what have I done?
What have you took on?
You know what I mean? Because it's scary, mate. It's scary when it's a bit of a commitment, but in your head you think, well, I paid a mortgage every month. How the fuck do I do that?
Mate, very very different scenario, but also the same with this place.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. It was that sink or swim, jump or don't. The kind of philosophy I've adopted over the last few years has been to, if something makes me uncomfortable, do it. And fortunately, touch wood, big thanks to our sponsors who will all be announced shortly. It's worked out okay now. But the same thing, even just taking this place on, it's a big financial commitment. And there was that moment of, what am I doing? Am I going to have to find this out of my own pocket? But
I think doing it makes you push harder.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's like they said to somebody, like, "Oh, did you pay your mortgage this month?" Yeah, well, of course I did. Like, you have to. Like, that's the thing.
You couldn't have potentially marketed to do the amount of kitchens that you were doing without the workshop.
No.
So you're not going to push it
in
the same way that with this very different demographic, but there are certain things and opportunities that I can now pursue because I've got better equipment, better setup, better premises. I mean, just little things like in terms of guests, there's certain people where we recorded before, I'd have been almost embarrassed to have them come in because it was such a, it was like a broom cupboard.
Whereas, I mean, my clients, I mean, I bring all my clients to the workshop, and I've never lost a job from doing that either, by the way. So everybody that comes into that place, sees the setup, sees the spray booth, will generally book a job in. I've never actually lost a job from doing that. But I wouldn't have brought them to the first one.
yeah, exactly.
But I like to look back at that,
100%,
and go, like, fucking hell. Like, it's, and to be fair, sometimes, your mates come over and give you a pat on the back and say, well done, mate. You know what I mean? Look at where you started, look where you are now. It's quite a nice feeling. And I always open to say to the guys, like, because they come and go, oh, I can't afford a workshop, mate. It's going to be, how did you start? I'm like, I started here. And I show them a picture, like, oh, right. I'm like, trust me, it's just starting is the main thing. Just get started. Don't worry about where you are in 10 years, worry about where you are right now. And, single garage, mate. Some people, I got one of my students now, Rich, he should set up in his garage, I was like, cracking, mate. It's all about getting on site. It's all about doing it, in your own space. Garage is fine. Yeah. And in 6 months, you're going to outgrow the garage and you're going to get somewhere else. Like Georgie from Cozy Rooms. Yeah. She's just started up. Nothing massive, but she's got a workshop. She started and she's just booked a job in for $5,500. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, there we go, straight away. That rent is less than that whole job for a year. Do you know what I mean? It's like
a journey of 1,000 steps starts with the first step.
Yeah.
1,000 miles, sorry. A journey of fuck that up, didn't I? A journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step.
Yeah.
But it's true, you can't get anywhere without taking that first step. And it is scary at times, particularly when it comes with a financial commitment. But if you see it as a business cost, a business investment, it is what it is.
But the thing is, mate, is you only live once, isn't it? Let's be fair.
Yeah.
And what's the point of worrying about absolutely everything? I mean, it's just you give it a go. If it doesn't work out, then you just don't do it anymore. You know what I mean, you might have lost a bit of money, but I think getting it going and do it. I mean, some people do it and lose everything, don't they? It can happen. It's not, but like that's why you don't jump in like 2 feet. Like you go in slow. You work out a plan. You start small and then you grow. And you grow with it. That's the thing. You don't grow in front of it. You grow with it. And I think that's the main thing. Just start somewhere. And also, mate, like I'm not being funny, but coming in the workshop in the morning, putting the radio on, go to the toilet when you want. You know what it's like in the client's house. It's holding it in all day. You know what I mean? Just,
some people do. Some people don't.
I don't. I just go. Sorry, love. Curry last night, but you know what I mean.
Don't go in there for a bit. Mate, do you know what? I'm going to start people off. It's a contentious topic of conversation.
Yeah.
Because some people are like, absolutely, you never use a get my words out. Never use a customer's toilet for a number 2. And other people are like, it is what it is.
Yeah, my mate actually told me a story once. Mark, he told me he went around his client's house and he had two daughters, like muddles. They were like beautiful. He said, "Oh, stunning." And he said they went out and he ran upstairs because she was dying, went for a crap. And then he said that he just heard a knock on the bathroom door saying, "Oh, Mark, it's whatever her name was. I've left my hair straighteners." And he's like, "Oh, fucking hell." He's looking for air freshener, but what he did is he just got hand soap and he was like flicking it around the room like this. And they said that as he opened the door, she's smiling, but as he walked past, she just went like that because she doesn't see the smell of it. And just cracking up, mate. That was so funny. But the workshop vibe you get when you go in there in the morning, you put your coffee on. You got you got your podcast on. No, it's just a better life, mate.
Do you know what, man? It's worth saying actually. It's one of those like things that a lot of people take for granted.
Yeah.
Is like toilet facilities. Like if you're out there and you're not in the trades, you're not self-employed or you're workshop based, you don't really fully appreciate just having that space where you've actually got a toilet to use. And it was can't remember who it was. One of the lady decorators brought to my attention, and my own ignorance hadn't really considered it, but like girls, for example, that have got to deal with their monthly, situations when they work in customers' houses, like it's horrible, isn't it? To have to worry about having to, go through that.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, I spoke to one decorator about that, and I said, "Why didn't you wear whites?" And she said, "This is why." I was like, "Oh, right."
Yeah,
but it's something you don't think about. Like you said, but it's been in a comfortable space, that you feel.
It's nice, mate. I mean, I'm getting a little bit of that vibe down here now because I'm like making it mine. You know what I mean? The little personal spaces and touches. So,
but it comes with demons as well, Mike. So it's like it comes, like I said, like we'll touch on that in a minute. It's like where I am now to where I was back then was two different things. So even I had at the workshop, it come with a lot of stress. So yeah.
Well, let's get into that then. Like, what happened?
It was more me because I'm, I've never been diagnosed with ADHD, but I've watched so much stuff on it now that it's just like, wow, that's me to a T.
Yeah.
I mean, like, so what I'd say is like, when I first started decorating, I was almost OCD with the job. And I think most decorators are OCD at some point in their life, or they are. I don't think there's the decorator saying, "Oh yeah, I'm OCD," because everyone says, "I'm OCD, I'm OCD." But you've got to be a little bit OCD because you're doing a job that's a finishing job, so you've got to be OCD about it. That's the point. But because of that, I let that go too far. So when I was in the workshop, I was watching. I call it the Insta Live, like I said before. Online, people will come across and they go, "Look at this perfect door. I am perfect. I'm a perfect sprayer. I'm doing this." And you're watching that going, "Well, they're perfect. I'm going to be perfect. How do I be perfect? I'm not perfect." Then you start questioning yourself. And what I was doing is waking up in the middle of the night and driving to the workshop like 2 a.m, stood in my slippers. This is no lie, staring at a fucking door and holding it like this, looking in the light, and just. My missus at one point was waking up and I wasn't there and she thought I was cheating on her at the start and she said, "I wish you were. Now I know you're staring at a door." It's more sad. I was like, yeah, you're right, it is. And it got so bad that my daughter's 5 now. This is only 5 years ago. So bad that when my daughter was first born, she'd be in the bath and I'd be staring at the floor, and my missus just say, "Do you know what? Just fuck off back to the workshop," because you could see that I wasn't there, and she nearly left because of it, because I was completely obsessed with doing this perfect job and perfect. So what I used to do is I used to walk out the spray booth and see like a little bit in the door, and I'd be like, "Oh, there's a bit there," but then a bit, and I'd take the bit home to my house in my head, and I couldn't focus on anything. So my daughter's like, "Oh look, she's rolling," and I'm like, bit, in my head. I just couldn't separate this anxiety and stress away from home life to workshop base. I go and I just couldn't sleep. I didn't sleep for months. I didn't sleep. I mean, I'm not the best sleeper now, but like that was just it would be days I'd be awake for, just stressing about the job, and then because of that tiredness, it created more stress. And then in the end, my missus said, "You're gonna have to get counselling. You're gonna have to do it because you're gonna either ruin the family, or you're gonna kill yourself like completely."
What was the concern with it, Jamie? Was it like your own personal thing of wanting to get the finish, or were you concerned the customer was going to pick you on?
No, it was more that I wanted to be the best, and I wanted in my head, it's like, I want to be perfect. Like the guys that are perfect online, why are they perfect? How are they doing perfect? And it was more of like a persona in my head that I'd created, that I was a spraying out. Everything's got to be perfect, and I'm perfect. So kitchens need to be perfect. And I think that's what I mean online. It's like anybody. They take a picture of themselves. No one puts the ugliest picture of themselves up, do they? They put the best picture of themselves up. They put a filter on it, and they do all sorts. Why would you put a horrible picture of yourself online for everyone to see? You know what I mean? I don't care now, but like you don't. You pick your profile picture. You wouldn't go a picture of you like this with your eyes crossed, would you? Like you find the best. So what do?
I'm going to screenshot that of you just doing that. Then that'll be the cover for the episode. That will just Jamie cross-eyed.
So everyone puts their best foot forward first, which is their best work, right? So what they'll do is they go, "Look at this perfect door. I'm perfect. I do the perfect job." And then you'll go, "Wow, they're perfect. Oh, I will be perfect." But what you need to realize is there's no such thing. It doesn't exist. But in my head, I was like, well, if he's doing it, I need to be doing it. And at Instagram, that's why we're very honest and open about like the real situations. Like every job I ever done on kitchens and UPVC, I had issues. Yeah, like fish eye, like chemical reactions to something, cracking, like I missed stuff, or like I put it back and dropped doors and smashed the glass in them, like, and, screamed the customer's house down when no one's there. Like, but, I've been through, but I couldn't separate that with my home life. That was the problem. So when I had the cancelling, it was all done online, and I didn't want to do it. I just said, I miss things like that where it don't help me. That's what I said, and it was the best thing I ever did, I tell you. So anybody that's struggling out there that thinks that won't help them, I would say it was the person telling me, because it led back to so many things like in my life that I had done, or been through, like with family or friends and school. They strip you right back to how it all began and why you're like this now. And it was quite like fascinating what things you think, Christ, I wouldn't have thought it had anything to do with that. And it gets to where you are now. So it's imagine if someone says they put you down through school, then you put yourself down, and then it leads to you self-doubting yourself, and then now you want to be perfect. Now you've got this persona that you want everyone else to see around you, and you've got people watching you. Yeah, and then online, and then you've got an audience. Then because you've had that at school, or you've had this, as you get through your life, you doubt yourself more and more until the point is like, now I doubt myself completely. Do you know what I mean? So I'm doubting myself for my job now. I'm second guessing myself. So, but the woman that was cancelling me said one thing that just triggered. She said, "Right, what we need to do is walk out of the spray booth and don't look at the doors." And I can remember laughing. I was like, "You need cancelling. There's something wrong with you." Like, to think that I was going to do that, but I had to like almost put a curtain in front of the door. So when I left, I pulled the curtain on the doors and I walked off. And the first couple of weeks, I was itching. Do you know what I mean? To get, oh mate, what if? Because I didn't look. Do you know what I mean? It's like now I haven't looked now. But after a while, I started going, no, I'll look at tomorrow. I'll look tomorrow, and then that's the point. Because you know what it's like, Russ. When you roll the ceiling, sometimes like fuck me, it looks patchy. That's there you come and go. Oh, actually, let's drive back all right. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the main thing is when you're looking at it. I was looking at a door with 9 lights in the ceiling, like this, wet, right? And then you put it like that in a dark corner in a job. So and you're looking for something on one door. When you put it amongst 30, 40 doors and all the drawers and the cornices, the palmets, kick plates, those little imperfections disappear. And the problem is those guys that are showing you the perfect door online, it's not perfect. It's not. There's something wrong with it somewhere, right? But they're not showing you that. So we say to people, look, this door looks great, but there's always no. It doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. So I struggled with to separate that side of my business from my head. I'm nothing like that now because that, like I said, that helped me massively. But you have to like go, what I should is wrap the doors up, put them back on, and then look at the job. Yeah, and don't get me wrong, my jobs were they were good. I'd done a very good job. I'd done the best I could, but I didn't let a bit of speck of crap ruin my evening with my kids, and that was the main thing. And I think you'll get a lot of people probably comment on this video that are going through the same thing because I know they're out there. It's a finishing trade, and then when you spray, it's like it changes the whole thing. So like brushing and rolling is like there's a standard, isn't there? It's like you can tell it's been brushed, you can tell it's been rolled. But spraying's so perfect that it's like in your head. So perfect finish. And one speck of dust in a perfect finish. It's like, oh my god. Do you know what I mean? You can see it a mile away. It's like if you had a run in your car in the paintwork, you would see it from stood across the other side of the road, wouldn't you? Because it's so immaculate. And I think that's the problem. When you get into spraying, it's so perfect in your head that it's like, oh, well, everything else now is completely, got to be spot on and everything. And it's not there. Even plastic's got defaults. Do you know what I mean? It's
Oh, mate, I've done some really high-end jobs with really high-end kitchens that are finished in the workshops and come out of factories, and they're not perfect.
Yeah.
You look at them. You look at a lot of like really expensive kitchens. If you actually look at the finish, if it's a painted finish rather than a vinyl wrap, you'll find flaws.
Yeah.
And these are ones that are coming off the production line.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, mate, isn't it? Your own biggest critic. But you touched on it before with Instagram or social media. It's part of the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because of that thing that you just said is so many people put themselves out there as it's got to be absolutely perfect, and perfect doesn't exist.
Well, calling yourself, there's some guys out there, I won't name them, but they call themselves the best. I'm the best. And it's like, that's a big statement. Because what are you best at? You know what I mean? There's many things in there, but it's hard. It's hard to separate yourself from doing it, but you've got to. This is the thing: when the client goes and looks at the job, you're looking at something they're definitely not seeing like what you're seeing, right? So sometimes you got to let it go. You got to say, well, I've done the best I can with the job. Some jobs you can't polish a turd. You know what I'm saying? You do the best you can. That's all you can do. I think you can't. If you go too far, you're looking for perfection. You're in the wrong job. You are, because it's not there. And I think that's what I in my head it was there. I had to get it.
I'm glad to tell you what though, mate. I'm glad that you. I'm glad you recognised it, or your wife recognised it when she did, because to be at a position where you're going home and thinking about it that much that you're getting out of bed at 2 a.m. and going down to your workshop, like,
oh mate, I slept in there some nights. I slept in there. I slept in the workshop because I wanted to be, because I felt safer in there than I did at home. Because I was like, I'll sleep here because I know I'm here ready to go to work tomorrow, and I'll sleep on the sofa. Do you know what I mean? It's just,
really?
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. And that's what I mean when someone looks at your business and goes, "Oh, yeah, you did it right." It's like, well, yeah, but but I've been through the ring. Do you know what I mean? And I've tested myself, massively. I mean, when you don't sleep for 3 or 4 days, you start hallucinating, mate. It's like, you start, and then it's dangerous to be driving around to jobs, and I mean, everyone's been in that situation when you're working like 12 o'clock at night, you're still in the job, then the customer's not there because they're on a holiday, say, but you're trying to. Then you're trying to cart your stuff back into the van. It's horrible, man. Like, that's why when at one point in that journey with the cancelling, I decided that trying to chase money was stupid. Right? So what I did is I chased the finish, I chased perfection, and I made sure that I give myself a couple of weeks on jobs. And I was like, no, I've had enough of doing that. I've had enough of rushing something for somebody else. I'm going to go after people that appreciate a good job and a good finish, and I'm going to spend time doing it. And then what happened then is because I had plenty of time, I made less mistakes. Do you know what I mean? Or if I did make a mistake, I could easily redo it because I had time to do so. So nothing was rushed anymore. And I think that's what you got to get to. I mean, some people be like, right, come in here, I want this done, I want this done. I think to myself now, like, just walk away from it, man. It's not worth it. You know, you know what it's like when you're carting stuff around in your van, and it is late, and you're like, oh god, and you're just literally hanging on by threads, trying to get things done. I just couldn't do it anymore. It would have ruined me. So just got to change your mindset into the job. Don't work with people who don't appreciate it. It's hard. It's hard to find those clients. It is, but they are out there. But the more you push that, because like I said to the guy last week, it's like, how do you go from working on those jobs to working on these jobs? Like, well, it's pretty easy, really, because if you're earning twice as much money from doing that, then you don't have to have so much work to start with. You know, so like say that you were earning £1,000 a week, but then you could earn £1,000 a day on a certain other job. Yeah, how much less work do you have to do to earn the same money you did before?
Do you know what, mate? I've said this before. I'll say it again. There's in the UK, particularly in our culture, we're fascinated with being busy.
Yeah,
there's this, and how many times, right? And like my mates, if we meet up, I can guarantee you, say if there's 10 of us, at least half of them will say to me, "How you doing, mate? You busy?"
Yeah.
Why busy? Why busy? Because what I'm saying is, why not profitable?
Yeah.
How's business going? Is it going well?
Yeah.
You know, because you can be a busy fool. A lot of us are busy fools.
Oh, yeah.
And with this marker of success being that I've got a full diary, that's not necessarily a good thing. Like, there's a lot of people out there that will turn around and go, "Oh, I'm booked up for 12 months." That's not no. If you're earning the correct amount, then great. But if you're booked up for 12 months, I would actually look at it and think, I'm probably not charging enough. Yeah. Because I'm booking too far in advance there. And there's that thing, you know, like we're pre-programmed that we work 5 days, or a lot of people will do 5.5 days, or even 6 days or 7 days a week. Yeah. And this whole, well, why are you working weekends? Well, I'm so busy. But why?
Well, so, I says to my mate, Mark, I think he just loves working, but he works 7 days a week. And I'm like, why don't you just work 5 days and earn better money? And then don't work the weekends.
Yeah.
Or actually work a full day in the week and then don't work weekends.
Yeah.
Don't get it. I don't get that mindset, because you know, like I said, you can go from like 1 week doing that to and then stressing all weekend and working it again, or you can just go to a better structure. But that's what I mean. Like you said, you can have so much work on, and then it's like, I'm a year ahead, and everyone's like, give a clap. Because it makes no sense to me.
But the thing is, so Jamie, like, I don't know. Let's pick a figure, right? Say you keep a round one; it's easy. Say you need £1,000 a week to live comfortably, right? Say that's profit, right? You need £1,000 a week to live comfortably, but you're having to work 7 days a week to earn that £1,000. Yeah. If you charge 20% more, that means you can work 20% less. Yeah. The problem is the way that we always frame it is, well, if I earn more, it just means I've got more money. We don't value our time enough. No. You know, in terms of going, well, actually, if I up my prices by 40%, then that means that I could earn 20% more, but I could have 20% more time off. Yeah. To pay back into yourself, to, you know, self-care, whether that's just relaxing or whether that's getting a holiday, whatever it might be, there's not enough emphasis, and this plays into the mental health realm, is the value of our time. You know, as I said, there's too much emphasis on keeping busy, and that's a successful business.
Well, yeah.
I would love, mate, if I could earn 5 days money in 2 days and have, you know, 2 on, 5 off. That to me would be success.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But again, we all get hooked in that. Yeah.
Chasing the money.
But if I can earn more and I can work more, then I can earn more. but you can't spend it when you're at work anyway.
Well, that's what a guy said to me the other day with spraying. He's like, spray cool. He's like, oh, mate, I can, I'm doing it quicker now. So what I can do is charge my clients less. I said, no.
No,
This is not where we're at.
Exactly that, mate. What that mindset there is exactly what I just said. So I can do the job quicker, so I can get more work in.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about having more work on. It's about
again, it's
earning more
education,
as a business.
isn't it? It's education because the thing is, who made these rules? Like, that's what I always say. Who made up? Like, so
5-2 split.
Decorators from 150 to 170, maybe 200 to push. So who fucking made that up?
Yeah.
Okay. And how can you judge somebody what they're worth without knowing what their skill is? So if you're a decorator, there's paper hanging, coving, spraying, marbling, draining. How much are you worth compared to the guy who just brushes and rolls, out of a pot? It's how many skill sets do you have? How much is that plate worth now? So that's how we base what I'm worth, because I can do quite a lot. So I base my things, and what the things I do are quite expensive to have replaced, and then I base my whole job on that. But I always go back to living costs. That's the main thing, because forget everything else. How much does it cost you to live? That's your rate. Like if you live say you live, I don't know, right up north, and you live where I live in Bristol, yeah. So it's like up north costs less to live where I live, right? So I need to charge this much because I need to have a life outside work. So this is my rate is. But a guy up north, say, that's paying half of what I'm paying on my house, then how much is he need to charge? So I just go back to that, like relation wise, go to how much you need to earn to survive, and then have money to spend. That's how I break up my quotes.
It's how much do you need to earn to thrive, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because what's the point of like I said? What is the point? Like you got at some point you got to go. Well, my living costs are this much, so outside work I want £1,000 a week, say, to enjoy or whatever. Say you want £1,000 a month left over to yourself. Whatever you need to survive to enjoy life. And that's how if we ever did a pricing course, that's exactly what we'd say. Is like work out your baseline, work out what all your bills are, work out how much it is to do hobbies and have enjoyment in life, go on holiday, and then separate that into a square meterage price, and then work how much that square meterage cost you in time per job, and then separate that number into square meters.
There's always pushback, mate. There'll always be there'll be somebody listening now that'll go, oh, well, it's all right for them to say that, but you can't charge more than this in my area. I'm sorry, it's just not true. It's not true.
That really makes me laugh, because that is you that values yourself like that, right? So like we have it all, because we train people from all over the country, and they will always say that. Oh, mate, where I live, though. I was like, yeah, but that's the point, isn't it? If you live in a cheaper area and it's cheaper to live, then you can be cheaper. Like you can be, because you're going to be making exactly the same money as me. Exactly the same.
Do you sell these cheaper to people that live up north?
No. And that's the thing. If you buy a kitchen for rent or you buy a kitchen for rent,
exactly
north, it makes no difference.
Exactly.
We're the only ones that do it to ourselves. No one else does it. The bigger brands don't do it. They don't go. I mean, you think you could buy a Graco machine cheaper up north than you could buy it in down the south,
or a car, anything, mate.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Some things up there that are cheaper, right? So,
but generally, houses, rent,
living
mortgages,
costs is cheaper. Yeah, living costs are cheaper.
But it's not even that, though, mate. I mean, you could equate it down to anything. I don't think Tesco's will sell half a chicken cheaper up north than they will down south, will they? No. So a lot of things are. So why do our services change? No. And it does. Yeah. It just comes down to that cost of. Look, I mean, I'll be brutal on it, mate. If you're out there and you're earning your 140s, 150 a day, and you're running a business, you ain't running a business. You've got a job.
Yeah.
And if you've got a job and you're earning that amount of money, and if your quality of life is good on that, all credit to you. Like, that's absolutely fine. Not knocking anyone. If you can have a good quality of life on whatever figure, then brilliant, even if that's 50 quid a day. If your quality of life is what you want it to be, it's not about, this isn't sort of like a measuring competition, but I'm pretty sure it can't be. And if you are really that fixed of like, I should be able to charge more, but I can't in this area, if my advice would be, go and get a job. Because I wouldn't want to run a business with no benefit.
Some people
like
are just happy, don't they? It's the thing. It's like, I've got mates that just go in, do their days, go home, get paid, go to the pub, have a few drinks, like go back to the kids. They're happy. But that's not me, because I want nicer things. That's the thing. So I want a nice car, I want a nice house, I want to go on nice holidays, but again, you're right. It's like you do carry more stress from that, but at the same time, it's like, who come up with saying you don't need money to be happy? I think that's complete bollocks, because everything costs money. Like anything, like even if you want to just, like, especially in the country we live in, because we haven't got the weather, right? So like if you live in Australia, you can just go to the beach, do you know what I mean, and enjoy your day out. But like over here, it's like to live and actually have enjoyment, everything costs. Everything costs money. If you want to go for a meal, costs money. If you want to go to a theme park, costs money. If you want to go ice skating, costs money. Go bowling, costs money. Everything fun costs money. There's certain things. Go for a picnic, don't cost anything, but you got to buy the food that goes on the picnic, costs money. Everything costs at some point. There's ways you can do it cheaper, but it does. Everything is a cost.
Money buys freedom, is what it does. It gives you the freedom to do what you want to do in life, potentially. I'm saying, I mean, intrinsically, money has money can't make you happy. The actual physical object or the number can't make you happy. It gives you nothing, but it's like life tokens, isn't it, really? It gives you the opportunity to do things you want to do. And like you said, if you're happy, genuinely happy in, living in whatever standard that is, all credit to you. Because to me, that's it. There's nothing more important than being happy. If you're happy, fine. But I think there's far too many business owners out there that are constricted by their own. They've put this glass ceiling above their own head, and they're fixed on people in my area can only charge X amount. So, well, who's told you that? Like Dave down the pub. Do you know what I mean? Like, who has told you that in your area you can only earn a set figure?
This is what I say, because I got a mate. He's a car mechanic, and he's got his garage, mate. He can eat off the floor, and he's got fish tanks in the wall. Do you know what I mean? Like all the hexagon lighting in the ceilings. Everyone takes their car there, and he's so expensive, right? But everyone does it, right? Because he's the best, and that's the point. It's like, so as long as you're the best in your area or something, or you're sticking out from the crowd, you can charge what you want. With print money at that point. So it's, like, what if I was looking at a sort of guy spraying UPVC, it's like, right, well, he doesn't take his windows out, so I'm going to take the windows out and do it properly, and also going to set up like a little gazebo, get my logos on there, I'm going to have some nice fans, I'm going to make sure that I'm dressed nice, I'm going to make sure what I quote, send a PDF of how the job's done, I'm going to send them Christmas cards every year. I would look at their business and go, well, they're not doing any of that. That's how I'm going to charge. That's how I'm going to make more money than that person. It doesn't matter about area. It's you.
Yeah, exactly.
You are the business.
100%. You have to define yourself.
You are the business. So, and that's why a lot of guys say, I don't want to invest in. I said, yourself. That is the best thing to invest in, is you. No one else, you. Because you are the brand. It's like you are the talking tradesman. I'm Abode. It's us that run those things. So invest in yourself. Nothing else. Don't put it into property, no money in it. I mean, because even I looked at that back in the day, nothing in it. I invested into my company, and that obviously paid off. So, investing.
It's great advice, mate.
Yeah,
that is great advice. It is. You've got to be realistic. If you do think that you've got that glass ceiling over your head with your rates, is be a bit introspective and look at what you're actually offering in terms of service and presentation and all the rest of it. Because the first thing that we are, any business owner, the first thing you are is a salesman or woman. Because you've got to sell your product or your services to the customer.
That's funny you said that, actually, because I had a guy the other week saying, you're just trying to sell your sprays to people after courses. Like, well,
obviously.
So you're trying to sell your services to customers. Like, we're a business. Of course I do.
Mate, you've given some really good advice, mate. I'm going to take 2 seconds to pop to the toilet, and then we're back. So after pit stop number 2, So Jay, where we got to, mate? I mean, in terms of obviously your business development, some great tips in terms of, it's been a bit of almost like a business mentoring episode, to be fair, which I like. But what I want to do is talk to you about how you went from spraying to teaching. Like, how did that transition come about?
And that's quite an interesting story, really, because we were on a job. It was a massive manor. A guy called Gerard Devane, like a big old film producer in America. Used to do like an adverts for Nike and Adidas. And I don't know. We got into the job with him from a guy from Swindon that we knew, and the guy from Swindon that I knew well called Huey, and he did a lot of the marbling and graining, you know, and all the specialist stuff. But he said, "Jamie, you spray, don't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Mate, this job's so massive, like we're never gonna get it done if you don't come in." So I was like, "All right." But he had a guy working for him called James Goff, right? He works for me now, right? So James,
as in James at your right, okay,
so James, like who is now one of our trainers. He walked past me. I was spraying. I think I was spraying a sealant, and it was so massive that like one of the covings on one side would have took the decorator about 3 hours to cut in because there's so much to it.
Yeah.
I sprayed 1 meter coving like that in 40 seconds, right? And James was like, "Mate, you've got to teach me how to do that. That's ridiculous." Because I sprayed the whole sealant in the end in 10 minutes. The whole thing is huge, absolutely massive. If you actually go on my Instagram, you'll find it. You'll find it on me doing it. But I was like, I recommended a couple of courses, but I thought, I've got a workshop. I'll just set up a couple of rooms and I'll show you how to do it, mate. If you want, you and your mate Tom. And he's like, "Oh yeah, that'd be really handy." So I said, obviously I had to pay for my time, so just give me a couple of quid each, and I'll just do that. So they come and done it, and then someone else asked me to do it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, okay." And then it was like, then it became like a weekend almost hobby, and I never had a business plan, mate. I never sat down and made one, and that's most of my life, to be honest. And the people kept asking, and because I loved it so much, I loved spraying, I loved everything about it, I was addicted to it, and I loved helping people with that. So then it became like, "Oh, can you train me? Can you train me?" Then we added other courses, and then it just snowballed. We started doing like 1-to-1s, and then it became like 2 in a class, 3 in a class, up to 4 now, which is where we're stopped. And it was just, it just a complete accident, like a throwaway comment from James, right? And then years later, James now works for us full time as a trainer. Do you know what I mean? So that person that actually gave me the idea for the company in the first place, and he's bloody brilliant. He is, and he looks after us well. Very loyal. So big shout out to James. But yeah, we just like a complete throwaway comment just into it. It's like a natural progression to become bigger, and we just got asked more and more, and it's become so massive now that it's just we've got everyone's in academies in Manchester. We're opening everyone in East Anglia.
Oh yeah. So you're going to have 3.
Free, but I run all of them. The East Anglia one was to be run by another one of our students called Ryan, he's very good, and again very loyal, and that is that's the sort of people we want.
I don't even know where East Anglia is, mate, to be honest.
It's the most easterly point on the country.
Yeah, so is that where's the city that's near it? Are we talking on Norwich way? Is that?
So you got Norwich. And so it's like the most easterly point on the
Apologies to anyone that's from East Anglia.
My sense of direction is terrible. If you say where I'm sat now, I wouldn't know.
My geography is not normally too bad, but I think I only ever go up and down the country.
I get lost going around the town I live in for the last 39 years. Do you know what I mean? I'm honestly, I can sat nav the hell out of everything. Do you know what I mean? But I think that's my problem, honestly, because I just follow that. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But so James started the idea, and then I owe it all to James. Well done, James.
So you're going to have 3 academies.
3 academies in total, but I'll be running most of them. Ryan will run East Anglia, but we're starting with things like slowly in East Anglia. So it'll be like a resin course because that's his main bag is resin and kitchens and plastics. So we'll start with that, and then we'll slowly integrate other courses in. We don't want to we don't want to put too much into one right at the start. We want to make sure that they're run properly, because our main thing is the aftercare is massive for us. So you can call me at 10 o'clock at night with a question about spraying, and I'll answer the question. Yeah, not healthy, some people would say, but because I don't see this as a job, I love it so much. It's a hobby to me. I'm very lucky that I get to do this for a job, because when you help somebody like that, like you'll have it with this, when you talking to people and helping them, there's no better reward, I think. And for me, it was just like I get a buzz for it. Like when someone needs you, it's a nice feeling when someone needs you for something. It's like,
do you know what it is, mate? I'll sum it up with one word: purpose.
yeah, the purpose.
You've found your purpose within the industry, within what you do, and then helping people. And I can testify to that with like some of the stuff I've done in the voluntary work. Helping people's good. It's not an entirely selfless thing to do because you're tapping into your own what you need. But it does feel good. It's nice. It's nice to help people. It's nice to teach people and to watch people, I guess, from your perspective, like coming in, not knowing anything, going away, having a new skill. Like it's a hell of a gift. Not that you're giving people, because obviously you charge, but it's something to be a part of somebody's journey.
It is, yeah.
It's kind of cool.
It is. I think because of the sort of person I am, I've always liked to see people do well. Like I know people, like I think we've got some old mates now that we don't talk to anymore that don't like to see you do well. Do you know what I mean? I know sort of people like almost jealous of you being successful, and I was never like that. You know, so I think if you are like that, then you're a bloody idiot. But there you go. For me, it was like to see someone thrive in business, you know, especially somebody like, because this what makes me laugh about the whole thing is like somebody like the Kardashians, right? That no one knows who the fuck they are. Sort of repost their shit and watch all their shit, but they won't watch the guy that's a family-run small business that's trying to support their family. That's to support that person over that person, and this is people that we would know well. Do you know what I mean? Like in that friend circle. So for me, because I'm not like that, I like to see people strive, and honestly, some of the success stories I can tell you about our guys, but they've gone from like, you know, they ring you like nearly in tears and say, "Mate, you've changed my life like completely." Like I was selling stuff like on Amazon, and now I've got like a fully fledged UPVC company with 6 blokes on it. So, I mean, like absolutely loaded. And it's nice to see them, because some of these guys ring you just before the course started and say, "I've made a mistake." One guy in particular, Dave, it was day before the course, he rang me and said, "You know, mate, like it's not for me." I said, "All right." I said, "Well, you're not getting your money back because it's tomorrow." So either come or don't. You know, you're not going to get a refund. And he's all right. So he turned up and he loved it so much. Now he's got like 10 blokes on. So he's absolutely flying, and he's done very well. He's just landed a contract for the Fitness of Village Hotels, spraying all the windows, and it's worth over £1 million. Do you know what I mean? So and he just said, I said, "Oh, imagine if you didn't come, Dave." He's like, "Oh yeah." Cheers, mate. But it's nice to see. Don't get me wrong, some people come in and don't enjoy it, or not enjoy the course, but they think it's not for them. And I can understand that, because sometimes you got to test the waters. It's not for everybody. Or some people are like, the setup cost is too much. But I always say to people, before you book a course, do your research. Do your research on what actually, because some people go and go, "What do you mean you need a workshop for spray kitchens?" Like, well, it's a workshop-based course. This is how we teach it. There is other courses out there that teach you to spray it in the house. We don't recommend it, but just do your research. Research what we're about and what we do, because sometimes it can, it can be a shock to people.
I mean, listen, might be somebody listening that's, sort of listening to what you're saying and considering getting into spraying now, because there's a lot of decorators that do listen. Let's run through a few things. So we'll start at the end that I know more about. So, like HVLP spraying, if you no spray experience whatsoever and wanted to get into doing things like whatever it be, woodwork, bespoke cabinetry, working with carpenters, that kind of thing, setup cost for a decent HVLP system and training, how much you're looking at investing?
Well, again, if it's just HVLP you're looking at, I wouldn't look at the machine. I'd look at your jobs, right? That's what I always tell people. So if you've got a job, say that say a carpenter, you spray loads of MDF, I wouldn't go for the HVLP. So I always look at that first. And which one you
say? I'm talking about from a decorator's point of view that's going to do it installed rather than in workshop.
Installed, you would be probably about for an Airless, because it depends what it's. But basically, HVLP, you got to fill the pot up a lot. You got to water the paint down to get it through the gun. There's a lot. So the guy rang last week and he wanted to buy a HVLP and he wanted to buy it for that. And I talked him out of it.
Okay.
I mean, because basically what we don't want to do is sell something to somebody and they hate it. Because if you go, "Oh, mate, this is not working," because it won't. And it will and it won't. So imagine you're filling the paint more to get through HVLP. It's more water into the MDF. So if you spray a lot on the MDF, you're better off using something that doesn't need any dilution. Yeah, put more paint on. So that would be the Airless. So HVLP is like high volume, low pressure. It's an integral word, like this chair.
Mm-hmm.
It would be great for HVLP. Spindles, liquid metal, special effects, specialist work. That is HVLP. Airless, everything else. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So like some people that use HLP for kitchens, they do, but for me, it's like air assisted airless or an airless because 6 litres of paint in a hop or all the tube of this, your suction pipe into the paint, bang, 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 $30-40. Yeah. In terms of setup cost, then again, it comes down to job. So again, the guy last week said, what's the budget when you got? So obviously, we've got a new sprayer coming out. So it's not.
Is this an exclusive?
It's an exclusive. We have got a new sprayer coming out. It's going to be a bit cheaper, right? It's going to be a cheaper sort of budget friendly one, right? Very good sprayer, but again, it's not about the sprayer. It's about the jobs. So like if your guy say, I don't want to spend too much, but I smash out new build every day. So then you're going to have to buy something bigger because it's going to handle that
capable
work.
Yeah, it's got to be fit for purpose, hasn't it?
It's got to be fit for your job. So if your guy just does, you just get in the spray, you want to do some spin, you want to do ceilings, a bit of walls, you're just taking a few kitchen doors, then you can go for something small, like Greg could do like a GXFF. Yeah, it's a great starting point. It's going to get you out the door. And then eventually what you'll do is you'll add machines. So you'll have like a smaller one for the smaller jobs, and you'll have the big one for the big jobs.
So what are we talking then, Jay? First setup, right? I do not spray at all. I want to spray. How much do I need to spend to get into the industry?
I say anything decent, £1,000. Yeah.
Just £1,000 flat?
Yeah.
But then you need training as well.
Yes. So basically with our machines, we actually offer 1 day's free training with all our units.
Okay.
So basically we do like a basic Airless course, which is like basically everything's taped up when you get there. You come in, you learn about the machines, you learn about everything, like troubleshooting where the ball bearings are, you learn about the filters, you learn about health and safety of the machine, you know how to fix it, because again, like a very small problem with this can become a very big problem very quickly. So something like a little rubber hammer could sort out, a little tap on the front could actually burn the piss in the motor out straight. Like you can damage the pump very quickly if you know what you're doing. And they're very dangerous as well. Like, there's a guy in America that grabbed one of the hoses and shot paint in his arm, and then it shot on the back of his neck. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I think 18 blood transfusions.
For anyone listening that isn't aware of it, so these things operate at a mega high pressure, and you have injection injury risk, which is when you mistakenly, if you put your finger over the nozzle, you pull the trigger when it's pressurized, you're going to inject paint into your body part at 2,000, 3,000 PSI?
It depends where it ends up. Do you know what I mean? There's some people you see that have shot it into the hand. Like, it starts with like a tiny little pinhole, and then it ends up with a cut all the way up their arm because they'll take the paint out.
If you're that way inclined and you're listening to this and you want to see something grim, Google like paint injection injuries.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
It's grim. But so they're not toys, mate, are they? You've got to, and that's one of the things where I've had a few people who have spoke to me about spraying who have mentioned like HVLP jobs. And a few people that have asked me about Airless, and I've always said, if you're going to play with Airless, well, first of all, you don't play with it, but second of all, do a training course.
That's what I could never understand. Like, you can rent a sprayer in B&Q. It's like so anybody can just. I mean, they're so hard to use. Like the tip sizes, the guards, the housing that goes in the guard, like everything. It's not like. I just can't see, unless you know what you're doing, how you can just pick that up and spray.
I've seen some of it, mate. Because there's a big thing on Instagram, isn't there? These like not home improvement, like home channels.
Yeah.
Like where you've got, I don't know, so-and-so 1920s Victorian house, and it'll have like 100,000 followers. Yeah. And you'll see them and they're like, oh, we've rented this from Speedy Hire. Yeah. And they've got like a Titan sprayer and they're like putting like 3,000 PSI through it with no training, no safety, no nothing. And it's like, you could really hurt yourself with that.
Oh, yeah, it is. And but it is the way, I think if you don't know, you don't know. The thing is, you wouldn't think, oh, it's just paint. How can you hurt yourself?
Well, now you know. If you're listening to this,
don't do it.
Now you know.
Don't get me wrong, I did that. But again, if there was back then, there wasn't that much training available. There was things I did do. Yeah, there was other courses and stuff. But like I said, it wasn't like it is now.
I'm trying to get an answer out of you, Jamie. How much is it going to cost me to get into spraying?
It's $1 million question, mate. That's why. Because
I'm just thinking.
So if you want a small unit and you just started out and you're not doing big jobs, £1,000 is like a budget friendly, but if you go any lower than that, you can end up with crap. Yeah, so like there's battery powered sprayers out there, right? See, everyone buying this quick shot, right? And
Jamie loves a quick shot. Massive advocate for the quick
Well,
shot.
do you know what it is, right? It's not the quick shot that's the problem; it's the price, right? And that's what I've always said to people: over £1,000.
Yeah.
Like, say our new unit cost £1,000. Say just pretend it costs £1,000. Yeah, right. Say that's our price, then you can buy a proper Airless with a hose and a gun and a, like a decent machine, like it'll do quite a few jobs. The handheld is going to do this little. So say, well, what if you've got one radiator to spray? I was like, well, why are you spraying one radiator? That's the first question you need to ask yourself.
Yeah.
So for £1,000, I think that it's not there. Say we brought one out in the future, imagine that, right? So we did, right? And it was £500, right? Then is it then got a place?
Second exclusive, that is.
Maybe, you never know. But at the end of the day, if it was something cheaper that was like, because it's got to serve the purpose, right? So what people do with the quick shot is they buy it with feelings, right, instead of actually practicality. So they go, "Oh, that is cool," and I would have done that. Like, I'm not going to lie.
My listen, disclosure here. My first sprayer was an Ultramax.
Okay, and where's the Ultramax now?
Well, it pump died on me. So, mate, I can't. I've got to be honest with you. I used it a lot. It paid for itself many times over. It was a good servant, and eventually the pump died, as they do.
But like I said,
but then I got a different sprayer.
If it was £250 to £500, it's worth it. When you're paying over when you weigh up what you can get, like, so I look at the differences with money. That's the thing. So I go, well, I can buy that that does some jobs. I can buy that that does most jobs. Yeah. So why don't I just buy that? It's gonna. That's your investment's more.
I'll be honest with you. Yeah. I can tell you from my point of view. So I look at this, and I think that is a serious bit of kit.
Yeah.
I need to learn how to do it. I need to do the training. I could really do some damage with that, as well as obviously, like the positive element. But I look at this, and it's almost as a fear element because it's like that is a serious bit of kit. When I bought the Ultramax, I looked at it and I went, I can use that straight out the box. I ain't got to be scared of that. It's this little thing.
But some of them still got to 2,000 PSI.
Well, the Ultramax.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not. This is the thing. It's you're just looking at that from a visual point of view.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but the machine is still going to inject you with paint.
Oh, mate, listen, hands up. I'll tell you the story of my first ever spraying experience, just to let anybody else know that's out there. So I had a job come in, and it was a 3-story, one of these new townhouses, 3-story, spindles all the way, top to bottom. And I'd got a couple of lads on at the time, mega busy as always. And I looked at it and I went, do you know what? I've been looking at these Ultramaxes anyway. That's the job for it.
Yeah.
I've got 3 stories of spindles. I'm going to spray it. Now, I knew absolutely nothing about spraying, tips, nothing. I watched a couple of YouTube things with a geezer who had a big smile on his face with the Ultramax, doing everything with it. So I went and bought this Ultramax. I think I paid about £900, maybe £1,000. And I got it out the box to do this thing. And as I say, no idea on tips. I think I did it with a 514 to do spindles. Right? He's laughing already. I got it out the box, mate. Not only did I use like a 514 tip straight out the box, I tried to spray AquaGuard. Right, the old Aqua Satin, the sticky stuff. Tried to put that through it. And as you can imagine, it just went, it hit the spindles, but it went everywhere.
Yeah.
So you got a 10-inch.
Hit the spindles and add everything else.
Absolutely everything else. It was, I mean, this was how long ago it was. We were still using dust sheets. So I'd got dust sheets all the way down the staircase. And I remember after just walking along and this fucking dust sheet sticking to my feet and pulling up, and I looked at it, I went, this has gone everywhere. That I was like, no, absolutely not for me. Cleaned it out, put it back in the box, and it went in my garage for 6 months until another job come along where I had a big old Victorian house with a load of deep, like ornate coving, and I put emulsion through it, and I actually researched like tip sizes and this, that, and the other, and learnt a little bit. And from there, I used it loads on a variety of different jobs. But yeah, my first experience with it was that. And it was just through complete ignorance and lack of knowledge, mate. It looked like a toy, so I thought anyone could use it.
I think that's probably the main thing there. Is like, because it looks like a toy, you treat it like a toy. and I think people underestimate spraying. That's the problem. It's I did underestimate it, and you underestimate the power of the machine. You underestimate how much paint goes everywhere. But that's why there's a machine for every job. Like when you talk about the spindles, then the HVP for me. Because you've been used on the course. You'll see the control of that thing compared to that is ridiculous. So for me, Don't get you wrong, if you're in an empty plot and no one lives in it, like, and you're just smashing a new build, right? Just use the airless on spindles, man. Doesn't matter about the mess. But like for me, in an occupied house, it'd always be done with a controlled fan because what happens is airless is like when you say it, like a hose pipe. Put your finger on the hose pipe, squirt everybody, yeah. And the HVLP is like squeezing that hose pipe really tight until his particles start floating like in the air. So what you'll get with airless is like wet fallout. So the paint is wrapped in the bubble of air, which is heavy. So that's wet. But the HVLP, the particles are finer, so they're dry. So you end up with dust, more dust with HVLP, but more wet paint and mess with airless. So it's like you've got to weigh up where they suit. So if you're spraying something in the workshop, then why are you worried about wet paint? So then you just use your. It's just you got everything's got a different job. If you use it for the right jobs, yeah, it's fine. But in all honesty, if you can afford both, they go hand in hand. They really do because there's such a good team. Like if you spray. See, I used air assisted on my kitchens, but you can use airless, and we teach you guys with this one. But air assisted is like the next. What we're trying to do is like get people started with airless, and then go up to the air assisted because it's more expensive. Yeah?
Okay, tell me the difference, mate. Like to somebody that doesn't know or anyone that's listening.
So, people get really confused with air because it's called air assisted airless, right? So AAA, right? So everyone's like, "What the fuck's an AAA?" Because an air assisted airless supposed to make any sense. It does because what you're doing is you actually the machine itself is still an airless, but you've got an additional airline that's connected to it. So when you're setting up your fan with airless, you get rid of your tails, yeah. So you're fingering your tails. Don't ask me who called it fingering, but there we go. That's the name. So get rid of your tails on the end of the fan, right? So that every time I turn up this dial, I'm adding more pressure. So the more pressure I add, the more paint that's going to come out the end of that gun. So for me to get that fan right, I need to keep adding more paint, right? So where the name air assisted airless comes in, it's because now you're going to assist that fan with air. Right, so what you do is you take the fan till the tails have nearly gone, but what you do is you adapt the air in now. So rather than using that extra paint to get the viscosity of the paint to atomize, is that you start trickling air into it. So now you're using a little bit of air to help with that pump. So what happens is in general, it's way less mess, right? And also, so imagine like with airless, you went up a door frame and then you went across it that way at the top. Yeah, that corner would be overloaded because you double passed it. So with air assisted airless, you always go up just a bit, opens up the window a lot wider, and it also breaks the material down a lot finer. So like, say you're using a solvent based paint, right? Like, and it dries rapid, like a PU, right? If you use airless with PU, because airless puts it on a bit orange peely, it can dry a bit orange peely because it's drying so fast. But with air assisted airless, if you spray a door with airless and it goes a bit stibbly, but then it's water based, it starts leveling. Yeah. Air assisted airless puts it on at that level stage. Right. So you're going to get so if you're using a lot of solvents, then I always say either use a pot gun because it breaks it down or use air assisted. If you're using water based, you're not going to see that much difference apart from control and mess. That's it. So the finish itself is going to be similar because of the leveling off period with water based, but if you're using solvent, you've got to go over to the pot guns or you've got to go over to air. I think personally. So
okay, well explained.
That's the way they work. But again, air assisted airless, if you buy a proper rig, they're go up to, I'd say, a decent one, $3,500. Do you know what I mean? So
they're like the higher end of things.
Yeah, so that's why we train the guys, like, because we use like polyurethane solvents, but we train the guys to the water base and we do a smaller bit of. We cover a bit of PE on the course, very small amount because obviously the health and safety aspect of it. But we say if you're in a workshop and you've got complete control over the product and you've got an airfed mask on, why would you just use water based? Because you're going to give a customer a much better result with PE. It dries much faster. You're going to profit way more. I mean, someone's bringing you like a grand piano and want it in like a polyester paint like black, you're never going to get that water based in gloss. Like, it's never going to happen. So you have to use different products. Like sometimes you have to use spin. Do you know what I mean? You have to, like the tannings. So I think, like, again, have options. That's it with machines. Have different options with different machines, and give yourself. I think a lot of people do is they get a workshop and they go, right, just water based. Well, that's it, because just water based, water based, water based, and it's like, well, just have options. Like I used to have a couple of machines. One was in water-based, one was in solvent, one was in lacquer. Do you know what I mean? I had a few because it means I promise more. Just like carpenter would never
That's as you
just
grow,
have one
mate,
tool.
isn't it? Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's like, you know, you've got a tool for that, you've got a tool for this, you've got a tool for this. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it was like, so say I was in a house, right? And there was, and I could take everything away. So because we had, like I said, we have tricks on the kitchen course that saves you spraying in the property, right? That's what people can't ever get their heads around. I was like, if you spray that in PU, you spray PU in someone's house. It's like, no, not really, because I've got ways of doing it. That's, again, the way that we do the job is what we teach people is not to spray in the house; it's into the workshop, right? So people can't get their heads around that. But if you've got a job where the customer is pregnant, she's got 6 kids, right, or 4 kids, or even 2 kids, or 1 kid, right, then you've got to look at that job and go, I can't take that kitchen. Like there's bits built around the Arga. There's loads of spraying in the house. I can't take that away. So then what I used to do is prime everything with like a solvent in the workshop because it dry quicker. And when I say solvent, I mean not like oil based. I mean like polyurethanes, like 2Ks, like 2 components, or 1K solvent. So prime it all with solvent, sand it back, and then top it with water based because then it match what I was doing on site. So I would still have that an option to use a solvent in the workshop and then top it with a water base. So the whole system on site was water based then. So you've got to have those things in place. Not right at the start, because right at the start, then if you're asking me personally, I would start with water base and then build your way up to all the other things around it. Do you know what I mean? But like again, don't just get stuck in that mindset if you just got to use one product.
It's that growth, mate, isn't it? It's the natural progression. It's like anything, mate. You start off with the basics, and then you build.
That's like what you said about your place here. You started off in the small sort of
in the boot room. the boot. But it's like, mate, everything that you're looking at, pretty much the camera, the mics, even the cables.
Well, you just upgraded that, haven't you? Now,
everything. Everything is bit by bit upgrade up. You know, new lights, new cameras. Same with business. Exactly the same with business. What I want to ask you, mate. The elephant in the room that we referred to earlier, these 2 beautiful machines that we have sat in the studio.
Yeah.
What made you decide that you're going to make your own sprayers? Because it's a massive jump, mate. It's a massive thing to undertake.
Yeah.
Why and how?
It's quite hard to answer that because it's like you're always going to like put the other companies down, but you have to because like it's the aftercare is just not there, like with the bigger brands, because they're so massive. Like some of the repairs taking like 8 weeks. So a guy buying a sprayer, mate, goes down 8 weeks for repairs. Or do you know a guy that services? I don't do, but he can't do it for 6 weeks. And then the guy's not got a machine. Then when you're governed by brands, that's what I can't stand, is when you're governed by a brand. So what you can do, what you can't do, what you can say. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. So what I like, the reason we did it is because say that you've got a sprayer from me, right? Okay, so this is yours, Russ. If that breaks tomorrow, I can make a very quick decision whether I give you a loan machine or not, which would be 100%. I go, Russ, here's a loan machine. We're going to look at your sprayer, and once if I take it apart and mate, you only cleaned it, I mean, then you're going to have a different conversation. But if it was like an actual fault with the machine, then I can assess it. Then say, right, we're going to fix this for you. It's either going to cost you this or it's under warranty, right? But the whole time you're still spraying. If you're on a massive job, you ain't going to wait 8 weeks. You've lost thousands. You could have lost thousands. Maybe 1 day out of work, but because I've done this job for 25 years, I understand that. But these companies do not do it they don't understand. They think, it's just be without your sprayer for 8 weeks, mate. It's not the end of the world. It is. It is the end of the world. That's the point. So I was sick and tired of being told that I couldn't give you a loan machine. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. Or it was always your fault for breaking it. And and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is the bloody machine. That's the thing. It's just, sometimes something happens. It's, sod's law, but it does happen. I mean, touch wood, I swear to God, we've had none back. That's how good they've been performing. But again, if I did have it back, it'd be under warranty. Or I can make a decision based on what I want to do. So we offer people, if your machine goes down at work, you're 100% get a loan machine. Yeah, unless you don't need it. So say you said, look, Jamie, it doesn't matter. If I need to book it for a service anyway, I haven't got another spray job for a couple of weeks, then it's fine. Yeah, but the offer's always going to be there for the guys. We'll always make sure they'll be looked after. And and also, mate, it's pushing our brand. It's being in control of your own brand. and looking after your own interests. You know what I mean? And something to be proud of as well, because as I said, like we were selling so much of the other company's gear at the end of the courses, and
but it kind of goes hand in hand, mate. Doesn't it
does,
really?
yeah.
Like if you're going to teach somebody that doesn't currently do it,
Yeah.
the odds are that most people will learn before they buy. They're less likely to have bought and then come to you. It does go hand in hand, and to be able to actually send people away with, and like when I came and did the training, it's actually nice to do the training with the machine that you go walk away with.
Yeah, I think that's the point as well, mate. You got because when we built them, because obviously this is the other thing as well, mate. It's the biggest con because everything's made in China, right? So like you get the Chinese part. I mean, the HVLP we work with Apollo, the brand Apollo. So they work with us very close on the machine, as you can tell by the gun. Like, so that machine we custom made with them, and we got a very good partner on that. But the machines themselves, like everybody, all the big brands be like, well, made in America, you know. 30% of it was built in America, yeah. But where did the parts come from? Yeah, if you actually research these bigger brands and look where they're built and look where they're actually coming from, mate, they're all coming out of China, right? So it's complete rubbish. Like if you turn most machines upside down and read the bottoms, you'll see it, right? And it's the lie, man. It's the big lie, the big brand lie. I won't name them, but like that is there. So. Like we have parts built. A lot of the parts we have done in Germany because of the ball bearings, the gearing and stuff is all done in Germany. But most of the CNC, like the casements and that, all come out of China. That's the point. So the biggest con going with it at the moment is that to put an American badge on something or put a badge on something that's from wherever it's made, you only need to build 30% of it in that country to call it made in that country.
Really?
So we could do it now. We could send that in and go made in the UK. Just put a few bits together. But the point of it is, none of it's made in. It's all made. It's a global part system which everyone uses.
To be honest with you, mate, I think the days where, like, when I was a kid, that used to have like a nasty tang to it. It's made in China. Everything's made in China now.
Turn a lighter upside down.
Exactly.
Made in China. Turn that table upside down.
Manufacturing in the UK is pretty much dead. There's very little that's made and built in the UK. I'm not saying nothing, but very little. And it did used to be that obviously Chinese stuff was notoriously cheap and knackered, but it's one of the fastest growing economies in the world.
Mate, honestly, the stuff they've made, stuff they've made for us is like the best I've ever seen. Because we use a static packing system here, like a Tritech. So when we built it, we made small changes to things. So our bottom packing is static, right? So it means it's just static. It sits in the house. It doesn't move. It's not moving over. It's in one section, one part. So Tritech are renowned for having that. It's quite well known, and again, great machine. But yeah, it was just a point where we thought that's enough. We've got to do something. We've got to take control of the situation. And like I said, it doesn't matter where the machine's made. It matters who's behind the machine. That is the point. Like, so with us, you'll never have any problems. That's the point. Like, you're going to get so we give a warranty with this for 3 years. That if it breaks in the first 3 years, you get a brand new machine. Like we don't go, why did it break? It's like there's a new machine. So if the gearing goes, which is very rare, electrics and gearing and motor, very rare. But if they do go in the first 3 years, you'll get a brand new unit. That's the point. There's no one else giving that. And also the deal we give with this, which is like all your extension bars, your hopper, your pressure gauge, your gun, all your hoses, everything for 1,500 plus VAT with the same power as a Tritech T7, like 2.9 litres a minute. That's like with a 3 days training, that's like $7,000 worth of stuff for £1,500. So, and we can back it. We're backing the whole support for all the guys, and the service can be much cheaper from us as well. So, say you come in for a service in 2 years or a year, it's going to be half the price of what you're paying with other brands. Yeah. So because we're a small family-run business, we can take control of that because our overheads are nowhere near as big as some of these bigger brands. So we can be a lot cheaper, but the same quality, the same, but better aftercare, basically. The bigger you get, the less aftercare you get. That's it. That's what it is. That's why we've been approached by some shops. And I'm not saying we'd never do it, but at the moment, it's I want to build my brand myself. So bigger stores have approached us, and we've just said, look, we're not there. We want to build the brand, make sure it's well presented, and then once we can take, because it's a mammoth operation. Do you know what I mean? So the bigger this gets, the less. If you haven't got the people to back it afterwards, it's going to dilute the aftercare, which is what we don't want. So we want to make sure that is presented well first, and then as we grow, it grows with it.
Yeah,
I mean?
so you grow with it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate, fantastic. Like I said, all credit to you. I mean, it's good to give props to people, and I've loved the fact that you've brought this out. I've loved watching the journey. Obviously, I've followed you on socials for some years through the decorating business. It's just nice to see the growth, the progression, and I love people getting into new things.
Yeah.
And for your business model, like you say, it all makes sense. I spent a couple of days using this machine. I've now got it myself, as you can see. I haven't used it. But I spent a couple of days using it. It was great. It did everything we needed it to do. Me and Alfie both enjoyed it. Had a little play with a HVLP, which was awesome as well. I mean, the control on that was mint. It's just, like I said, mate, I wish you all the best with it. I hope it flies, because it's great to see somebody that's come out of the industry as well. What I love personally with brands, any brand, is to know the person behind it.
Yeah.
And when you, like you said, you get these huge brands, the likes of your Greyco's out there, who, you know, not knocking what they do. I'm sure their machines are great, but you don't know, like, Mr. Greyco's face. Yeah. You don't know the story behind the brand. Maybe it's out there. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I like the fact that, you know, supporting small businesses like you, mate. I do it all day long. And it's nice to have you as, like, you know, you can actually reach out to you directly that knows everything about it. I would imagine as your brand grows, there will come a point where you can't do that, because realistically, mate, I mean, we talked about mental health and balance. You shouldn't be taking phone calls at 10, 11 o'clock at night about that. I understand at the moment you're in that growth period, you're establishing your baby, but there will come a point where you can't do that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got nearly, I'd say well over 1,500 students now. I mean, looking after those guys is... So
you imagine, though, mate, when that's 50,000 students, or whether that's 10,000 units sold, you can't take a phone call on that yourself.
Things are changing. Like, we've made memberships now, so they join after the course, which is like a paid for membership, which is like an aftercare package. It's only £12, but like a month. It's not. But again, it's like a little forum on there. It's got all the videos. They also get the courses repeated. So like when you've done the course, you can watch it back. Like I'm giving it to you guys, so you can watch it back of what you've done for the day. So like the phone calls we get are not. They're sometimes just like, oh, how much would you charge for this job? And like, it is on the membership, but what we generally said was like, well, if you work it out and then tell me what you think it is.
Right, you do. I mean, look, years ago now, I did business coaching for a while, and you just have to be a little bit careful, because there are people out there with the best will in the world. Some people that will use it in, you know, like, correctly for what it's meant for, and there are other people that will lean a lot heavier. I mean, I had it with the business coaching that I was doing, where I had people that were literally going to quote big jobs, recording the whole thing, and then just sending me the video and going, Russ, how much for this? I'll be like, well, that's not what this is about.
I know, but I think what it is for me, right, is that I've been in that situation where I didn't know. And when you've got a trainer, you've got to understand, when you've got somebody that's trained you in something, right, you've got a certain responsibility to help them, because they've got no one else. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So it is, but I know what you're saying. So what I said to Anna is, what I need to do for myself is probably have like a booking system where if you need to book in a call, this is when it'll be done. Yeah. Because it's getting so out of control now that I can't keep up with it, right? So it's going to have to go that way. But again, it's like, I've had people before, like one guy, I've got one bad review on my thing, right, with this bloke, and he messaged me quoting a job at like 6 o'clock evening. I was in McDonald's with the kids. I said, mate, I'll tell you what, use the membership just for a minute. I'm just helping the kids out at McDonald's. Like, you know, he texted me like, fuck off. I was like, what? He said, membership shit. I was like, oh, right. But he was like, I'm going to leave it. And he left reviews after reviews of bad outfit. He went on forums going on. He got attacked by our guys, like really, like they levered him. Do you know what I mean? They're saying like, how dare you speak about him? Like, you know, Jamie's nothing but hell for us, blah, blah, blah. He's entitled to be with his kids at the weekend. But that really got to me, that did, that he'd written that about me. And I was like, oh, my miss, don't worry about it. But it does play on your mind, because it's like that's one person out of thousands of people that you've trained that's just not happy. And he basically said, well, the membership was shit. And I was like, so we can look online who's done what on there. So I can see how much you've watched. I can see how much it says percentages of each bit you've been on. And it was 0%. He'd done 0%.
So he just wanted that
Oh, he just
you.
wanted me to tell him how to price a job, which
Yeah.
I don't mind helping with, but like the membership's there for a reason. Like if I just tell you how much, you'll never actually work it out yourself. So we just tell people, look,
Yeah.
try and work out. Text me what you think it is, and then I'll make adjustments. Yeah.
I think the summary, mate, is that, isn't it? Is if they're trying and want confirmation, or they're trying, can't do it, and want help, cool. But they've got to be trying.
Yeah.
And I had that with a few people when I was doing the business coaching, that it was they hadn't even attempted to quote it.
Yeah.
It was just like, do this for me. Essentially, that was what it was, dressed up in nice terms.
Yeah.
But it was, Russ, do this for me.
Yeah.
And whether that's because they're not confident, whether because it's just they think, well, it's quicker than... Because you know what it is. I mean, if you go and quote... Say you do any kind of job that might be $5,000 and above, it's probably going to take you. You've got to go and look around it. You've got to sit down. You've got to work your margins out, work your materials out. You might put a couple hours into that.
Yeah.
And if you think maybe, well, I can just send it to Jamie and he'll do it for me, like you can't. You know what I mean? You can't then be responsible for that.
I think a lot of the time is. Most of the guys second guess themselves. I mean, that is the main thing. I don't think it's like I think they know how to quote it, but they go, oh.
If you're looking for confirmation, it's okay.
Yeah.
If you know, it was like when I was business coaching. If somebody would send me a video and go, Russ, I've looked at this job, I've worked it out to around about $10,000. Would you say that's right? And I've been doing the job long enough that I can look at it quite quickly at a glance and go, ballpark, or way out. You know, so but that was all I would do, because like I wouldn't personally want, if somebody wanted me to work out a $10,000 quote for them, fine, send me all the details, but I'm going to have to charge you for the time spent doing that. But yeah, it's just one of those, mate. My concern, as I say, I know your passion for it, for you would just be to like make sure that you've got some healthy boundaries.
Oh yeah, I mean, I mean, me and my partner have had these conversations many times over the last few months, because. And we've got a lot more help now, because obviously we've got people in the office. We got James that helps out, and then but you got to think at the start it was just me and Anna, and it was. I think because when you train one person, they don't think about everybody else behind them, right? So they're like, oh, if I give him a call, it's just cool. But then that one call that day is like 16, 15, 20 calls. It goes on and on. But they generally, do you know what it is? And I don't mind. And any of my students that are watching this, please don't ever feel like you are burdened to me, because you're not, right? But they do it at the weekends and evenings. And I'll tell you why. Because they're working all day, and then they go and they go, I don't know what to do. And it's like that switch off moment. It's like, so it's either a Sunday or an evening. They never do it in the day because they're working. And it is sod's law, because that's when I think about things the most, right? But it's just when you finish work, because I don't finish work. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I'm still. I mean, you always say if you work for yourself, you're always working, right? In some respects, you know. But
there's a lot of truth in
that.
But
I love it, Russ. And I can't lie. Like there's no part. Yeah, I do for a healthy boundary. I should switch off, but it's. These are like my mates. They are. They're like good friends. You know, some of them we went out for a meal with them the other night. Two of them, and you just bounce, have a bounce with the lads. You know, it's good. It's good crack, and as long as they feel they're looked after, it's good for me. But again, for my personal thing, like I see what you're saying, 'cause it's more my kids. Like if I'm with the kids, I want to pay them attention.
You got to be present,
And it's something that I have started being more aware of. I think it's like put the phone on silent when you come in and turn it upside down, and then go in and do what you need to do.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Jay, before we wrap things up, mate, there's a question that I've asked a lot of people that have come on. Not everyone, because I forget half the time, but I've remembered. So I'm going to ask you. There's a mental health crisis in construction. The statistics I've spoken about many, many times, but it's got the worst suicide rates in the UK by industry. And it's just to get your perspective on why you think that might be.
Well, the suicide rates.
Just the mental health crisis. Like, why is construction, of all the jobs in the UK that you can do, construction has got the worst rates for suicides, mental health?
Underappreciation, I'd say. Probably overall, because you're underappreciated, aren't you? You're always on. I mean, it's like decorators say. I've always said I've never said it's hardest trade. It's mentally hard. You're unappreciated, but I think every trade is unappreciated at some point. And the whole country's built on trades, isn't it? Like everything is built, so you're reliant on trades. It's like the NHS. It's fucked, isn't it? Yeah, because it's underappreciated. Everything's under appreciation. But I think when you're self-employed, in construction completely, you're on your own, and I think that's the main thing because you're so in that situation. You don't want to bother your partner. You might. The thing is, it depends how you deal with it. Because like for me, I tell everybody that I'm stressed, right? But some people don't do that. And I think that's probably underappreciation would be the main thing I would say there.
That's interesting, mate. I think you're right. I think you're the first person to say that. So it's a nice perspective to come into things. Yeah. Appreciate it, mate. I try and ask as many people as I can because I think everyone's got a different view on it. And it's nice to get all these answers.
Well, that's why I
think
it
builds the picture.
Yeah, that's why it's great what you're doing because it is, it's. I mean, because it's something that I would never have thought of doing. I mean, like in my head, it's like the talking tradesman. Yeah, that's a good idea because it is. Because I think blokes especially don't talk. And that is the main thing. A woman is the same, you know what I mean? But women generally, my missus is not anyway. She talks back legs on donkey.
Listen, I think one of the things, one of the reasons it's worse for men is because, like you just touched on, we bottle it. And women are better at talking. They do talk to each other more. They offload more often.
I mean, I do. I mean, I'm more like a woman because I unload everything.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing.
But are also. Yeah, it depends what it is, I suppose. Yeah, because it just depends. Work stuff, I generally would have locked that in. Yeah. So that's why we started at doors at 3 in the morning.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, I've had a couple of mates that have, committed suicide. So I know the score. I know the score of it, and I know, one of them was within lockdown, lost his job, walked to the worst among himself. Do you know what I mean? So it's there. But you never know what someone's going through sometimes. That's the thing. And do you know what? I've had mates that have gone really quiet, and I'm like, I better just check in. Do you know what I mean? Just to see it's all right. Because if something happens, you go, I thought that in my head.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? As I said, yeah, and it is within the trades. I can see it, because it's bloody stressful, isn't it? It is,
Can be,
especially decorating.
Especially. But mate, well, thank you for your insights. Before we do wrap up the episode, is there anything we haven't touched on that you wanted to speak about?
Just follow us on Instagram and
course,
TikTok,
we'll
Academy.
get all that.
Give us
Jamie's details will all be below. Do you know what, mate? Listen, if you want to do a sales pitch, I will give you 2 minutes now. You crack on.
I don't know I'm not. Some would say I am a master salesman, but I'm not. But look, we will look after you. If you buy a machine from us, we will look after you. That's it. I mean, but that's all we're about. So we're about aftercare and support. So if you're looking for good support and good training, then come to Abode. That's it.
There we go. So not only can you get your training, you can also get your sprayers there now.
Oh, and we have our own paint out as well.
And paint.
But we got more coming. So stay tuned because we've got quite an exciting journey coming up. So
mate, I'll be staying tuned. I'll look forward to seeing it. I'll put all Jamie's details in the episode description below. But the other thing I always say, where can people find you, Jamie, in terms of social media?
Well, it's Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn.
And your Instagram is?
Abode Academy.
Abode Academy.
Yeah, so we're on YouTube as well. So we're pushing that a bit more nowadays. So we're all pushing it hard. So
go follow, subscribe, like, share, all those things that we always ask for. Jamie, massive thank you, man.
No worries,
massive thank you for coming in, talking about your journey. It's been interesting. Loads of business tips in there, which is great. Before we do wrap up, the thanks I've got to give out. A big thank you to the Funky Peach, who give us guest merchandise, which I will bestow upon Jamie shortly. And a big shout out to Steve over at Uncle Matt's Hats as well. Do you wear hats? You got to say yes, just say yes.
I wear a hat backwards. I can put it off
backwards.
Just about.
I don't know. Maybe I should. Anyway, big shout out to Steve at Uncle Matt's Hats for the 6 month supply of guest hats to give out as well. I'll find out if Jamie wants one.
Well, if it's free, I'll take it.
To wear backwards or forwards. But big shout out to you guys. Thank you for supporting the podcast as always. And I guess that's about it, mate.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Really, really appreciate it.
No, absolute pleasure, mate. Absolute pleasure. Catch you soon on the next one.
Cheers, guys.